What's going on, everybody? Dan, thank you for having me. This should be a good time. A super fight at the top of the card. We've a great interim title matchup in the co-main event. So I'm pretty excited tonight.
Awesome. Well, you just introduced this thing because I realized I was muted for the intro part, which is fine.
Oh,
Again, we're just getting started here. Randy Brown's walking out on my stream. Again, folks, disclaimer, this is the alternate commentary. Dan Tom here, Protecting Neck Podcast, MMA Junkie, Action Network. But yes, here on my YouTube channel where these go down with my guy Ant Walker, MMA, of course, co-hosts with the mostest. Dan Tom, MMA on the YouTube channel. Thanks for joining, everybody. See you, Rain Lamina, James Kendrick, Mark Fellows, Ozzy in the chat. Chronic Combat Conversations up in here. Ghost Phantom. Be sure to give it a like, subscribe if you want to participate. I don't pollute your feed or anything. You guys can submit scores. Randy Brown's walking in now on my feed. I'm probably going to be pausing. We're going to go a little bit behind. I'm going to sync up with my man Ant's feed. Of course, we're all watching from different parts of the world. And even when you were watching from the same location, like I can be watching from my laptop and my TV, those times aren't going to be the same, right? So we're going to play it safe, and we're going to be lagging behind. It may be maybe even up to like 30 seconds behind at some points, 45 seconds. We're going to try not to and steer close like last week if that happens. But silver lining, we won't be spoiling it like most of the journalists do, live tweeting the actual events, right, Ant? We're not going to be spoiling anything.
absolutely. So we're going to be just a tad bit behind. So that means it's okay. You can just go ahead and enjoy it, and you'll get our live reactions. It may not be live to the moment, but it's live in some way metaphysically. I don't know what level of science are we using to break things down today.
We'll go metaphysical, we're just going through Ethernet cables and internet. The good thing about this time differential is if you guys want to submit scores and stuff, it gives you a little bit more of an extra buffer to do that, right? Especially if you're busy on Twitter, you're snacking, you're drinking, you're running to the bathroom, you're thinking, whatever. Just shoot it on into the chat, and this isn't a professional broadcast, but, hopefully be nice to get some more of that work in the future. So we're going to do our best to keep it as professional as possible while the round is in. Jack Della, Maddalena starting to walk in on my stream. I may pause here when they do the walk-in. And a lot of times they do the walk-in, and then they'll flash the graphic below their name.
Yeah.
You got Jack Della, Maddalena walking in red corner. And I'm going to see if I can pause it. When it shows his graphic. It's not doing it. It might have to wait to the actual check-in zone. I'm going to pause it when that graphic pops up for Jack, and then I'll wait for Ant to get to that part, and we'll go from there.
Yeah, I've got Randy Brown at the prime hydration zone right now. Okay. So is that what they're calling the check-in point now? Is that the prime hydration zone?
I'll be damned if I'm going to call it that, but I believe so, unfortunately, right? Unfortunately. The irony, we could have a whole show just on the worst people in the world and how they have magnets to find each other, we'll just leave it at that. But
it's lovely. I'm young enough to remember when looking like NASCAR was a bad thing for the UFC. So
yeah, yep. By the way, I didn't even bother to ask Ant's opinion. I'm just broad brushing mine. And another reason why I have Ant on the broadcast, folks, because I'm just figuring that, and it's okay. It's good to disagree. But, on certain things I figure I can throw out there, and he'll probably agree with me and not call me crazy, so that helps.
Yeah. We're right in line with a lot of this stuff, Dan. So.
Yeah. Jack Della Maddalena took off his shirt, and then it stretched across the screen. Jack Della Maddalena, you guys are probably a bit ahead of that, so no worries. If you're listening in the future, I'm gonna link it in once we get locked. I'll try my best to keep it on my time once I get in sync with Ant. And in case he falls out of sync, he'll just try to resync in with that. Because at least last time, knock on wood, my connection was the more steadier one. You guys know, even when you're using the ESPN Plus players and doing everything, it's still hit and miss, right? So I'm going to do my best for you guys. But again, this is going to be later. Once we get synced up here, once this process is over, I'm going to do my best to keep my alternate timeline. I know all this metaverse movie talk with alternate universes. We'll try to keep it somewhat consistent with the universe we establish here. Back to that talk.
Yep. So I've got Jack making his walk on my feed right now. So I'll let you know. His graphic just flashed as he's taking his shirt off.
Cool.
So just the Manscaped check-in point.
Yep. Hand slap first one, hug first one. Hand slap second one, hug second one.
And of course, no sooner did I say that my feed starts acting up. So here we
Oh,
go.
all right.
You gotta love it. You gotta love it when we're live.
It's okay. At least we know we're in the neighborhood now. We got in the neighborhood, so I'm going to stick on this where Jack is checking in. We got a little bit of Tai Tuivasa on the screen. Thank you guys for joining me. I'm going to reward those of y'all, especially tuning in on the chat, and make sure I'm interacting with you guys. Both by, not too much between rounds, not too much time. I'm just going to be throwing your scores up on the screen. You guys can score. We cannot. It's like, aside from the fact that I bet these fights, which I'm going to keep out of the broadcast bias, yes, there is the broadcast bias where you're broadcasting, you're not scoring. So you guys can help toe the line there. Hey, my guy Jack Slack, the timestamp guy, sending you love and positivity, my friend. Sending you love and positivity, too. Thank you for that model on the timestamp. So I'm going to use that going forward. And in turn, my listeners should thank you, too, because it's more of a benefit to them. So appreciate that. Got an Adam Martin tweet hitting the screen. Says, love watching Jack Della as they're flashing to both fighters as we're getting ready for the tail of the tape. Hasn't hit my screen yet, Ant, but just doing that kind of, camera back and forth here while it's like, the awkward moments before the, geez, I'm already getting myself in trouble here with a porno reference. But, let's push on. By the way,
man, this is going to be a fun one.
Absolutely. And, again, our predictions and stuff, whether we've made them in other shows, that stuff doesn't really matter here. We may reference it offhand in conversation. But I will say this, Ant, we didn't get to hear it. But did Randy Brown come out the hot stepper again? Because if he did, he wins the walkout here no matter what the result of the fight
I think
is.
that's what he came out. I could like faintly hear the music, but that's what it sounded like to me.
I'm a sucker for certain jams of a generation.
That's a classic song.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, it got me going last time he came out on one of these Vegas shows, and I was like, I don't know. I always remember random things like that. I'm like, okay, I like it.
Yeah, the walkout music is a very important thing for me.
Yes,
that's actually why my channel is called the Walkout Network. Besides my name being Anthony Walker. So.
Well, say you're a hip hop music head, my friend. So you should have high taste and a high expectation.
Absolutely.
Jack Della Maddalena being called in by Bruce. His graphic just flashed on the screen for you, Ant, and the audience listening live and in the future.
Mm. Well, I've got sound with no picture right now, so this is fun.
We need the opposite. I know, right? Wow. Also got to give Ant a thank you, not just for joining me as we're getting clocked in on my clock. I know y'all are ahead, but because we're tying in to help keep it somewhat consistent, that means Ant is having to do the heavy legwork as a co-host. So I appreciate that, Ant.
It's all good, man.
We are queued in on mine, 458, 457. I will sprinkle these timelines, not too atrociously, but enough for people listening in the future, as well as my co-host to link back in when he can. And if you want to interrupt me with random factoids that can fit in a fight anytime, feel free to just jump in and shoot the shit, and again, not professional. Leg kick, though, from Della Maddalena to Randy Brown. Of course, Della Maddalena will switch stances, both orthodox right now, primary stance for both fighters. Randy Brown's using a lot of his length and his jab. That shouldn't surprise you too much hearing that, Ant. Of course, you're familiar with this fighter. Randy Brown is the more experienced UFC fighter. Della Maddalena, a more fresh face, but one we're taking seriously as he lands another leg kick, and Randy Brown looks to land an oblique side kick to the leg in return. Nice jabs in conjunction with front teeps for Brown. Very good. A little Nate Diaz slapping rear right hand as he continues to finish with a lead hand. Very smart for Brown, but he's backing up into the kill zone for Maddalena like Robbie Lawler. You don't want to find yourself in between the inner black octagon lines and that fence. Brown can kind of dance in between there, trying to take back the center as Della Maddalena looking to counter. Not sure if he got hit in the eye. He shakes it off as he's really trying to find his range. Feeling out period, like I'm sure many suspected. 334, 333, 332 in the first round we go. All right. Appreciate those of you joining us in the chat. Of course, UFC 284. Nice lead front kick by Randy Brown. Jerks the chin back of Jack Della Maddalena. Della Maddalena seems unbothered, pressuring, corralling toward the cage, trying to corral with hooks, But Randy Brown using good lateral movement, really hard to get a hold of early. Love Maddalena's boxing. Let's see if he uses, and a shifting right hook, and he flattens Brown. Pounding, right hammer fists. How long is Mark Goddard going to let it go? No, Randy Brown's trying to get up. Randy Brown is trying to get up and defend himself. Jack on his back, going for the rear naked choke, one hook in, and gets the tap. It's another first round finish for Jack Della Maddalena. Wow. Wow, a lot of betting value for a lot of bettors on Randy Brown with that plus number, but the chalk was not just inflation as the Australian comes through. And I know you were jumping for streams, but you're familiar with both these guys. You heard the kind of quick play-by-play. Randy Brown had a good start, but it just soon as he started touching that kill zone, got hit. Were you a believer of Jack before this? Were you doubtful of Jack before this? Do you have any thoughts? Does this not surprise you?
I mean, it doesn't surprise me very much. I mean, this was definitely a matchup that I expected this sort of result. Randy Brown has consistently been the sort of guy that you can guarantee action on the card, but you can also get a good gauge of someone on the come up. And putting Jack Dilla in front of him in Australia, it just sounds like something that was set up to excite the crowd one way or another. And, of course, the UFC was probably hoping that this was the result that they'd have.
Absolutely. Speaking of Australians, Mark Fellows in the chat. JDM, let's go. Mark Fellows. Raise one for him. Raise one for me. Again, I'm staying straight for these broadcasts for you guys, folks. So I know my man Mark Fellows is a beer drinker himself. So hope you're happy, guys. Randy Brown included. They deserve one after that. I hope Brown is okay in all seriousness. Jack Della Maddalena getting lined up by Goddard. There's Randy Brown, as Bruce Buffer is about to announce it and make it official on my stream. Ghost Phantom says, not too much body work for Jack, but he got the win. Yeah, not too much body work. I was thinking, I was going to mention before he got the finish, maybe we see him mix in a little bit more leg kicks, to help corral Brown in his movement, but did not need it. The shifting right hook is all it took. Hopefully, my man Ant can get back on a stream and at least maybe catch the replay as they do on these post fights. Bisping is interviewing now.
Yeah, I'm watching the post fight interview. And I think we're out of sync again. Interview just wrapped up on my end.
Okay, I'll speed up to you. That's better because that's closer to the audience. So, how about this? A rule of thumb: if Ants ends up ahead of me, I'll speed up to him. Whoever's more ahead in the stream. Sound like a cool rule?
Yep, that'll work.
All right. Taking pictures. Kaikar France slit throw.
KSI in the crowd. Oh yeah, Kaikar France now. Yep. Okay. So we're about synced up now.
I paused on Faber and playing on Faber.
Yep, Faber.
Faber just pointed to his shirt and it's off Faber slow.
Yep, we're good.
Okay, cool. We'll stay on this. I'm gonna go through the chat. Jack Della, Rain Lamina. Jack Della fan. No need the scores there, says James Kendrick. Agree, yeah. No need scores indeed. Not even for a round score.
Yeah, like what? Jack has only been in the second round like once in the UFC?
No, just all first round finishes, and then he went all three with Anglusa in his Contender Series fight.
Oh, wow, yeah. Okay, that's all right. Wow, because I thought he at least made the second round once, but no, it's all first rounders. Like he's gotten out of the first 3 minutes once.
Jimmy Kudo asked, does it disappoint you, Dan, that there wasn't as much body punching? No, not at all. I mean, he got the job done without the body and leg kicks, I mean, for what that's worth. So who am I to criticize? But no, it was fun while it lasted. I can't complain about that one, Jimmy Kudo. I cannot complain. Rain Lamina, nice Dan. Shifting right hook is all it took. All it took was a fat chronic. There's a Jay from Jay and Simon straight back there. Jeez. Triggering all the old 90s stuff from me. All right. Barton Spackle Crisp. Hello. Love the fight companions. Thank you, Barton. Appreciate that.
All right. Thank you, Barton. I'll just go ahead and throw a thank you in there. This is only my second time doing this with you, but I'm just going to throw a thank you. I'd assume it was for me, too.
How about and not just dressing appropriate for the stream, but even the podcast, with the Wu-Tang.
Oh man,
Keeping the Protect Your Neck theme in tow. I appreciate it. Yeah.
Of course. I saw that hat sitting there. I was like, yeah, this feels appropriate right now. So
yeah, no, you're at home wearing that. That's fine. That's good. We had a City of Gone promo. I guess it's the Jones and Gone promo.
Yeah, this is man, I'm really looking forward to this matchup. Like, as much as I wanted to see Jones versus Ngannou, like that's the really big fight that could have been made, obviously. But I think from a stylistic standpoint, Gane and Jones provides a much better product.
Yeah, I won't say too much to spoil too much or anything, but we were asked to do there's a video project that's coming out from us at the staff at MMA Junkie about who we're more excited to see between Conor and Jones. And shout out to
Easy.
Eugene S. Robinson, but I the Jones chapter, say what you will, wherever you stand, you cannot deny that is an important chapter. We got to see finished, at least see what these later chapters look like, right? So,
Absolutely.
Spoiler alert, that's going to be my answer. Although I inserted some funny stuff in there because you guys know me. I got to be a little bit cheeky with my answer on something like that, but.
You see, stuff like that is like, man, I need a job, full-time job in MMA. So that's the sort of stuff I need to do for a living, instead of, not doing that for a living, obviously.
Yes, well, anybody watching this, Ann is really good, and hopefully we can see him flex his wings here a bit on the main event coming up. Of course, on our streams right now, folks, you might be a little ahead. We got the He's Back Still logo, John Jones being advertised. Yep. While we got time, speaking of promos, usually at this level of UFC grind, like this type of video package is the one unveiling the one big thing aside from the actual fights on a pay-per-view card. But they actually did a legit big thing, a pay-per-view, and not just a normal Hall of Fame thing where it's like the person in the halfway half chub erect wing, we're introducing who was long overdue in Jens Pulver. That wow, that really got me. Did you catch that, Ann?
Yes, I did. I turned everything on just as that was starting up, and it's been so long overdue that Jens Pulver gets recognized by the UFC Hall of Fame. I mean, he's a guy who helped put the lighter weight classes on the map. In general, like he was the original Volkanovski. He was the original.
Yep.
Of all the lighter weight fighters that we like to see now, he was the first one to do it at that level. And I also think that he's someone who got really sort of disrespected, I think, by the UFC at a certain point. Like, he was just forgotten about. And even he had a good stint as a commentator for the WEC, and that just sort of vanished as well. Someone that just was just not used. And I remember him, taking his case to the media and like wanting to get more reps behind the mic and wanting to do more commentary work and expand as a broadcaster, and he was never really given that opportunity after having what appeared to be a successful stint with the WEC before. So it's good that the UFC has kind of spun the block and they've coming back to Jens Pulver and recognizing the greatness that they have in front of them.
Absolutely, man. Godfather of the lightweight division. I mean, was fighting when they were. It's funny. I think the UFC at a certain point was calling, they called middleweight 199 and below or something. They started to make a little bit of weight classes. When they had a lightweight, it was like 170, and like Jens Pulver was like 160 something fighting at that. And then when they finally had lightweight, they called it 33. I just posted a clip of that where you had like Carmen Electra, who was clearly being paid to be there with her boyfriend. What was that guy? The other guy, the notable guy. And like
Dennis Rodman, was that her boyfriend?
No, it was the dude with the looks like he's gonna steal your girl with the weird kind of small beard, but like the Latin eyes. I don't know if he's Latin. Maybe forgive me, but I forget. It's just very like of the year 2000 couple, right? Late 90s, like of ilk. And you could hear, it was so bad, you can hear the camera guy speaking and see them speaking to the camera guy, UFC camera guy behind the camera, going, What do you want me to say? It's boring because it was like such a boring card, so it was just funny. Like, you forget about like how far back it goes. But I tweeted, I'm glad that they have it. Emmett, they're playing the video package now. I'm glad that they have it on this Makhachev card, considering the lightweight title is up for grabs, obviously. And not to sound like a hater, but it's, let's be honest, the Khabib Islam fan group is a special type of fan group, and they tend to lead The ignorant conversation of trying to anoint greats and Mount Rushmores. I see these conversations, and it's like all fighters within like the past 5 years, and like you don't see BJ Penn, you don't see Jens Pulver, you don't see Gomi, you don't see any of these guys, and it just makes me sick. I don't want to be old man screaming on my lawn, Ant, but I'm like, these kids, they don't understand and respect what came before them, you know. And so I think it's really important, you know, that they did that on this card. I know that wasn't their intention, but I think it's an added bonus.
Absolutely, because this is a fight for the belt that he sort of ushered into the UFC. Like this is his legacy essentially in front of him in the main event. So what a more appropriate way to honor him than have it there. And he was, I mean, the Penn Pulver one, like that was considered a super fight at its time. Like not the way we define the weight class champion versus weight class champion fight as a super fight. But as far as the unstoppable force against the unmovable object, that was one of the first events where that was a feature. That was a true super fight between those two at the time. So a super fight for the belt that was originally up for grabs, and that super fight sounds perfect to a time to usher Jens Pulver into the Hall of Fame. Yeah,
and by the way, that was AKA back then in BJ Penn's corner. So you had Javier Mendez, a lot of the same faces that was in Khabib's corner were in BJ's corner for that first title run of his, even though he lost that first time to Pulver. And yeah, people don't recognize this. Just alone, the UFC tried and failed 3 or 4 times just to get the division off the ground. Name me another division where that's happened. I'll wait. Even the flyweight division, if you want to count the weird draw, should have been draw in Australia, the prolonged outcome of it, the threat that we almost had to lose it a couple years ago. Even if you try to flex all those technicalities, it does not still meet the criteria that the lightweight division has. And why if you guys read my quick picks and prognostications, we'll move on to the broadcast from this. That's why I always trash the matchmakers for disrespecting the lightweight division and not utilizing it. They're using heavyweights and light heavyweights to open the cards all the time. It's like, lightweight division is still a literal third of the roster, and that's a giant inflated, bloated roster of today. It's still at least a third of. Yet where have all the lightweights gone? Oh, whatever that '90s song is, right? You know what I'm saying? Like it's ridiculous how disrespected this division arguably is still. So respect to the lightweight division, respect to Jens Pulver.
Yeah, the lightweight division is certainly the division that you can't just turn your back on. You talk about the perfect blend of athleticism, of power, of technical prowess. Like they have it all, and they have the numbers. I mean, you can close your eyes and just pick 2 random names out of the top 15 in the UFC at lightweight, and you're going to have an exciting fight, if not a potential title fight. That's how deep that division is. That's how exciting it is. And it would be in the UFC's best interest to feature them more prominently across main cards in general, to have them open the cards, to have them be the ones that lead you into the pay-per-view or something, because you need more movement in this division. You just need more movement in it, and you have enough names to where there's such a logjam. Get these guys active, get these guys in front of an audience, and people will be anticipating some of these potential high action matchups.
Absolutely. We got Josh Emmett coming into the checkpoint station right now. He just handed off his shoes on my stream. He's taking off his shirt on my stream now, Ant.
Yep, mine as well.
Okay, cool. That's where we're at, folks. I'm sure you guys are still a bit ahead of us. Totally okay. At least we're not spoiling things for you. Since we're ahead, we had a question coming in. And real quick, Josh Emmett walking in. If Randy Brown got the best walkout, I don't know what Josh Emmett's walking out now, folks. Perhaps you guys can fill me in. He changed it last time. But he has this weird song that sounds like something from... a mix of like CKY to like reggae rap. It's really, I don't know. Maybe it's a good song. I don't know, but like it just always gets stuck in my head, and it's like it itches at like an annoying chord in my head. And I like Josh Emmett, by the way. Just saying.
What I'm hearing right now, it sounds like something that would have been a leftover track from a Rocky movie.
Okay, yeah.
Like that sort of synth inspirational rock.
Okay.
That you'd expect in like a training montage in Rocky 3. That's what I'm kind of hearing now, but I don't have the volume up high enough to really figure out what the song is. I'm sure there'll be some articles with the walkout music listed, I'm sure. If not, I'll email someone at UFC PR, see if I can get that.
Hey, listen, he's 37 years old like me, and I am prone to listening to weird stuff all across the board. So far be it from me to talk, Mr. Walker. But yeah,
You're 37.
Yeah.
You're a young man. Young man.
Nice. Yeah, 37.
Respect your elders, Dan. Respect your elders.
Yeah. Okay. All right. You don't gotta divulge.
No. Please don't beat me up, Dan. I'm sorry. Don't beat me up.
No. You don't gotta divulge your age. I said.
No. I'm 40, man. I'm cool with that.
That's right. That's right.
The sexiest 40-year-old you ever seen in your life.
I was gonna say, man, you got great genes, man.
Hey, man, we said this off air. I think last time we did this, I'll just say it on air. People of color, we're doing good on the aging. We
do, man.
We look good.
That's right. Hey, by the way, I got a question in for you, Ant. Rodriguez walking out now, so we got time for it. Comes from a fellow Australian out there, Mark Fellows. Question for Ant. Any chance of Backfist Boys reunion? You're welcome in Australia for our next card later in 2023.
Oh my God, I would love a Backfist Boys reunion. That would be everything. And shout out to Dennis and Casper right now, who are doing all the best coverage for Submission Radio that they possibly can. I love and miss those guys so much.
Those guys are awesome.
Oscar, I know he's out there now doing his thing. You know, Oscar, Dan, I know that's your man too. Like, Oscar's one of my best friends. I love him to death.
Nice.
James Lynch, another Backfist boy. Hunter, another Backfist boy. Shout out to the Backfist boys. I hope there can be a reunion. I would have loved to be in Australia for a live UFC event. If I get myself attached to a major outlet that has a travel budget and they send folks out, raise my hand for the next Australian card. Australia is on my bucket list of travel, and I would just love to see a fight in a foreign atmosphere as well. So please let it happen. Let it happen. Mark, we're having a beer when that does happen.
Yeah, man. Australia's up there for me. Maybe top 3 off the top of my head. Off the top of my head, I would love to do, I'll cheat and I'll say I'll count anywhere from UK to Ireland as 1, Australia 2, and Korea, because I still remember, I know they got recently cheated from an event, and I still remember that just loud, crazy feel, that Benson Henderson, Masvidal card back in 2015. I would love to experience something like that in person.
Oh, for sure. Like it's definitely it's a lot of fight locations on my bucket list. Like,
sure,
I want to do a fight at like MGM Grand or Pearl of Palms, like the smaller casino venues. Yeah. I want to do one of those. I want to do an Apex Center show just to get a feel for what it's like to be in that empty arena, and just hear the sounds of the
nice
hits.
Yeah,
it's just a different vibe. So a lot of different things on my bucket list as an MMA media member that I've got to check off.
Rodriguez at the check-in station now. I got a question from Jimmy Kudo. A question for Dan. Is Jack Della the type of fighter you would be? No, he's good, first of all. He said, Jimmy says switch hitting, body punching, and scrabbly wrestler. Switch hitting, body punching / body attacking, yes. Your boy probably... Man, I punch more than I kick, but I probably kick more to the body more than I punch to the body, if I'm being honest. I'm trying to balance out that equation better. Definitely, that's not the equation as what I work on the bag, but what you work on the bag and what you do realistically sparring are two different things, unfortunately. Mm-hmm. But yes, I mean, ideally, I would love to be much more of a body puncher or look like Jack Della Maddalena. It's much harder than it looks, even though many of us preach it. But that's why respect to Jack.
Yeah, body punching is a very complex thing, even in boxing, to target in the body. So with MMA, when you have the potential to get kneed in the head for leaning over too hard, or you open yourself up to clinches, and it makes it much more difficult than what it looks like. The one advantage though is the smaller gloves that can kind of sneak past holes in someone's defense. So yeah, if you go ahead and take the risk, it might be available to you more often than you realize.
Very true. Got the tail of the tape on the screen for me right now. I'll tell you at the moment it fades off in case we want to see how close we are. Just faded off. I'm Bruce Buffer. This is a 3D weird looking jacket.
Yeah, this is actually pretty conservative on the Buffer jacket scale. He's gone a little out there. Yeah.
I usually don't notice it as much until like after the fact. I was doing tape for this card and I forget what fight it was, but there was one where I'm like, how did I not notice this live when it happened? Like, what is that? It's hurting my eyes. How did I not notice this?
Did last week's Bellator 290, did Mauro Ranallo's jacket look really marvelous on television?
I didn't get to see him on the. I barely. I saw like 1.5 fights barely.
Okay. Yeah, because in the arena, it was sparkling. That's for sure.
You know, that's my problem with these things. I'm barely able to watch. I tell my audience all the time, man, I'm barely able to watch these fights now these days. It's sad. I was doing some dog collar stuff and some other. My website crashed, so I was fixing that. Like, I watched maybe a fight, 1.5 fights of the whole entire prelims today.
Oh yeah.
Just the way it goes, and I didn't even finish studying through the prelims. You know, it's just crazy. I feel like I really gotta. I say I gotta focus on my time management, but I've been getting a lot done. We got some sweet thumbnails. Y'all check those out. I know I showed my guy Ant before they went up, but hopefully you guys in the chat let me know if you dig the upgrades.
With the professional look right there. Look at that, just dressing us up. We're just a bunch of ruffians, and look at us looking all good online.
That was my girl, so you know, I will pass the compliments on to the chef.
Yes, please tell her I said thank you. She did a fantastic job.
Nice. All right, they're just finished announcing Rodriguez in. They're bringing him into the center. Who do we got for this one? My favorite referee, at least Herzog. Not saying there's a wrong or right answer there, by the way.
No,
that's my favorite.
That's the right answer. That's the right answer. Herzog is consistent, and he's knowledgeable. He enforces the rules. And he owns up to mistakes when he does make them. Yep. That's a guy that you want reffing your fight.
All right, folks. Broadcast mode. Excited for this one. Say what you will about the stakes of it. It's a fun matchup.
This is definitely an exciting fight on paper. Let's see if they can deliver in person. Rodriguez taking the center of the cage, both very heavy on the movement, and the feeling out process begins.
Absolutely. 4:48, 4:47, 4:46 on my clock. Just a bit of dancing right now, a little feeling out process, which not too very smart, I should say. Don't rush it, either party.
Not even a probing jab so far. So this feeling out process is a lot more feely than I anticipated there. Rodriguez throws the first blow with a front kick, pump fakes for another, and he resets. Emmett is definitely looking lighter on his feet than we normally see him. It looks like he's coming in prepared to have a full-on kickboxing match with Rodriguez.
Yeah, that's the thing here. You think that Emmett would be the one pressuring and, if anything, wrestling for a game plan and background, right? But that's my theory here. I don't know if he is confident enough in his gas tank to push that. We saw him push a lot of takedowns in his Scott Holtzman fight up at lightweight, and since then, it's just been the sparse late-round takedowns here and there. Let's see if Emmett incorporates them more, but again, more of that feeling out process Ant just spoke of.
Right, and Rodriguez is a guy that you have to manage your gas tank appropriately. And wow, he's a guy who's proven himself to be able to finish later in the fight as he did against Korean Zombie. He's a guy who's gone 5 rounds multiple times. We kind of forget about that wild, like, sort of kung fu battle he had with Alex Caceres that was a 5-rounder. So he's been in there for 25 minutes and lasted the distance. I mean, he picked up, in my opinion, the last round against Max Holloway in that loss. So if you are Josh Emmett, you have to be concerned about what you're going to look like in the latter rounds, because Rodriguez is likely to be there still throwing the same volume.
Absolutely, and I don't blame him, but that is just a reality here. A lot of fighters. Another body kick and a check right hand.
To a punch. Nice.
Yes.
Double jab pumped out for Rodriguez as he's circling out. And now it looks like Emmett has gone more into that flat-footed sort of plotting approach. I expect him to be loading up a power hand right now.
Yeah, he's going to have to get some respect and really implement his game plan, for lack of a better word. He cannot stay at kicking range. Another body kick by Rodriguez.
Another body kick, wow. He's coming in with that right hand. Looks like he tagged Rodriguez once. Rodriguez kind of ate it, delivering another body kick. That body kick looks like it is central to his game plan tonight. You know,
MMA Junkies analyst called for the body kick and the leg kicks to be something to play off of, and Rodriguez doing that now. Let's see if he uses a little bit more of that southpaw double attack. He switched up to the head briefly before.
And you see Rodriguez really cautious with his defense there, holding up that left hand to block that power right that you know is coming from Emmett when he gets in close.
Much more respectful than he was in the aforementioned Holloway fight, right, Ant?
Absolutely. Looks like a very smart game plan right now from Rodriguez. Let's see if he can keep it up, or if Emmett can find a way to adjust and change the tides for him.
Yeah, Emmett has not faced a lot of dedicated kickers, and even people who box like Burgos ate up his lower leg. So we're really getting to see what he does against a range kicker here. Tries to
Yeah,
return off
and
a right hand leg kick.
Rodriguez very comfortable there on the outside. That kicking game absolutely phenomenal. He's doing a great job of throwing punches after the kicks. Looks like he ate one from Emmett, one of those right hands. Emmett trying to close in, throws him to the ground after a pretty sloppy clinch. Let's see if Emmett can land the ground and pound and make the best use of this advantageous position.
Yeah, it must have hurt Rodriguez if it seemed to not just get the respect, but shove him down kind of easily. I hate to use that word. Emmett pounding away now. He's got a wrist trapped. Looking to elbow, step over to half, smashing down on the side scissor. Looking to pass, trying to.
Yeah, he's got that leg up to keep Emmett from really getting comfortable. Out, he's going for it's like some sort of armbar attempt, but nothing solid there. Looks like he's back inside control.
Yeah, Rodriguez needs to try to re-guard. He can make some kind of low percentage moves down there on the bottom that he's been criticized before. Let's see if he can try to, get conservative, shore things up, try to recover.
Yeah, you're switching out to looks like he's going to like a half butterfly guard.
Nice elbows by Emmett.
And close the full guard.
Yes. Costing him a couple elbows, but he did re-guard.
Yeah, and at this point, I mean, 15 seconds left in the round. If you're Rodriguez, try to hold him, try to minimize damage, and ride this clock out. That would be the thinking from the corner, I would guess.
Rodriguez attacking a lot off his back, though, at least. Some hard hammer fists, and the round comes to a close. Depending on how hurt or how much hurt the Rodriguez appeared to the judge's cage side ultimately. You got to imagine, that round doesn't look bad for Emmett, though it was looking bad for him. I had Rodriguez winning the round. First half, we're not scoring, folks. Feel free to submit your scores in the chat.
Yeah, and this should be a very interesting round as far as what strategy Emmett takes, because we saw him switch up game plans mid-round. He got the fight to the ground not necessarily by him initiating a takedown, just by the chaos of the fight. He wound up in top position. Now does he go back to that? Now does he say, hey, I need to get back in that position and land some damage? Or does he go back to that flat-footed approach and throwing that power hand that initiated the chaos that led to Rodriguez getting on the floor?
James Kendrick scores that 10-9 Yair, body work and good counters. I don't hate that. It was more of the round. It was more moments from Emmett with a strong close and some ground and pound with that was, attempted to defend, not all clean / had traffic at least coming back from Yair for whatever that's worth. In round 455, 454, 453, round 2.
I expect Rodriguez to go back to the body. He had a lot of success there. You see the welt on the side of Emmett's ribcage right now.
Absolutely. The body kick is definitely something highlighted in my analysis, making me feel a little less crazy here. But again, those counters, the more you upset Emmett, the more he's going to want to hit you back is the problem. That's what we saw at the end of the round. So let's see if that makes a little hesitancy in Yair or he goes right back at it.
I mean, as long as he throws the punch right after the kick, because that was keeping Emmett at bay. Wow, looks like a wild exchange there. They both kind of did what they did in that. Emmett was able to land a good power shot. Yair
I thought Emmett landed the better shots, but then the body kicks from Yair just equalized it right back out.
And you see Emmett's guard getting lower. Those body kicks are having a much bigger effect than I think he's letting on right now. Oh, back to the body.
Yair knows it. He's spamming it. Yep, he's spamming it. He's spamming it.
It's got the Travis Brown elbows against the cage there.
Yep. Smart by Emmett to try to recover here.
Right.
Yair looking to the ref, but
for him. And now he's going for the takedown, but yeah, a low percentage takedown attempt right there. I wouldn't expect him to get much off against someone like Rodriguez with that level of balance.
Rodriguez looking to separate himself out. Nice knee to the body on the break. That hurt him. Body work, folks. There's a reason why the fighters preach it. Judges, the good judges don't, obviously, but judges still don't respect it as much as I would like. And the general population does not expect it as much, but those body shots are brutal. They're really hurting Emmett. Emmett looks like he's been through a 5-round fight right now because of the body work.
Emmett looks worse for wear right now. Like, he's still dangerous. He's still throwing that right hand with a lot of power. Oh, wow, that elbow really hurt Emmett. Nice elbow in the clinch there from Rodriguez. He's following up with more knees.
Front kick to the body by Rodriguez. Emmett really needs to get back into this fight, get some respect. But he is looking sluggish out there now.
Yeah, he's gassed. That front leg is eaten up. The body is eaten up. He's still got power in that right hand, but it's going to be very difficult getting it up to his target at this point.
Nice question mark kick and counterbalancing shots after the kicks by Yair that he's sneaking in there. Little quick punches. Emmett tries to return. Swing and a miss.
See, Rodriguez now kind of taking some of the movement out of the equation. Now he's setting a little more flat-footed. He looks like he feels a little more comfortable in there about what's coming back at him. So let's hope he doesn't get complacent in this.
Yeah, we've seen some suspect decision-making tonight. A lot of fights kind of going over. And fighters perhaps missing opportunities, which, with the judges and the dangers of a fight, not great. Flying knee misses. Emmett now on top. Let's see if he can get something going.
Yeah, another sort of just by happenstance, Emmett gets his guy on the ground. Let's see if he can make the best use of it.
Yeah, you're looking to land more of those elbows off his back, but he probably should be trying to get off his back, to be honest, with the condition that Emmett was in.
He's probably thinking like, he sees the damage that Emmett's taking and figures, okay, if he can just keep attacking him while he's in this disadvantaged position, that's got to break down the morale at Emmett at some point.
That's probably more in line with how Yair thinks, but if I was one of his coaches, I would definitely be like, let's get off the bottom. Let's not let this guy recover. Let's not let him back in the fight. We've seen fighters allowed back into fights, from Bukowskis, Pedro, Malarkey to Prado.
Oh, he's got a
triangle. But now he's going for the triangle submission.
Look like it's locked in.
And taps him out. Wow.
He's got the tap. Wow.
Submission round 2. Wow. Yair Rodriguez. I picked him to win in round 2 by KO, of course, and wow, submission. I mean, hey, that's some great guard work, good triangle, and I believe he's the first person to tap Josh Emmett too.
I believe so. Wow, that was about as complete of a performance from Yair Rodriguez than we've ever seen. A disciplined approach to the striking. To come out there without the mentality of just wanting to throw everything and just let loose. He went in there with a very focused objective, and that was to attack the body and take it from there. Attack the body and break him down. He attacked the body, he broke him down, and he very carefully went for that submission as the fight went on the ground. So this was about as complete as we've seen Yair Rodriguez, who is now
perfectly
the new interim featherweight champion.
Yeah, perfectly said, Ant. Perfectly said. Yeah, I couldn't have said it better myself. It's funny because I'm trying not to get too high or as far as the analysis that I pointed to, the body work. So I'm glad you said it and not me. As far as that goes. So yeah, you're absolutely right. That opened it up and really was just, like you said, a complete performance all around. Yair, of course, making his way around the octagon now, hugging family and friends. Big win for him. He's got to feel great about that.
Definitely. And the UFC's got to feel great about this too. They just announced a PI in Mexico.
Yeah, that's true. Yeah. Yep.
And to have another Mexican fighter with a belt around their waist, this is a good time to be in the UFC Mexico business.
Yeah. I mean, we've seen this before. I know I've talked to people in the industry about this. These were definitely decisions they were steering toward, but you can't manufacture outcomes in this game, right? We've seen that before. So the fact that they ended up with 2, at least for the moment, at this timing, like Ant said, that's really big, folks. That's really big.
Definitely.
Nice cowboy hat there.
Just got to wonder, did Venom make that hat, or is that contraband?
Yeah, right? The way they be snatching people's flags. But all right. I'm not hating it, but yeah, you're right. Yeah. Well. Well, I can tell you one thing: that hat is more real than the sponsorship that's on his chest. So we'll leave it at that.
Yeah. Let's unless any of those companies want to send me a check.
Yeah, right. I mean, jeez.
I'll cash a check. That's for sure.
Volk versus Yair, anyone? Mark Fellow says in the chat. Yeah, that is now next, regardless of what happens in the next fight, folks.
Yeah.
What a meme fight.
Yeah, I'm imagining that Yair is he's gonna take his moment to smile and sip a beer with his team backstage, and his eyes are gonna be on that TV for the main event, because that very well could determine what the rest of his year looks like.
Absolutely. If Yair says anything, or any of these fighters in these post-fight, like last time, folks, they say anything you think we should know or want us to comment on, go ahead and forward it on the chat. As I say that now, we're just gonna get like Yair quotation mark, and then like some ridiculous thing he didn't say. Just and because that my Ron Burgundy ass will read what's on the teleprompter. I just feel that now people weren't actually gonna do that, Ant, but now they are gonna do it because I just said it, right?
I just know that Tits McGee is off tonight. So.
Tits McGee is off tonight. Yes. Great callback there. Oh, my gosh. Oh, man. Tits McGee.
Man, the Yair Rodriguez having a championship belt, even if it's an interim, that just sounds very exciting to me. That sounds extraordinarily exciting.
He's always an exciting fighter, man. You put Yair anywhere, It was kind of crazy though. He only had 3 fights in the last half decade leading up to this, which was the Jeremy Stevens fight, with the Chan Sung Jung comeback knockout, and the injury TKO to Ortega. But this one puts him right back with that excitement level. That's the right word, Ant. Excitement level.
Yeah,
puts it right back.
To think that the UFC just wanted to let him go. They just got mad and decided to let him go and to sign to what was he signed to, Combate?
Something like that, yeah.
Yeah, he was. I think he signed to Combate for like 3 seconds. Like they were really willing to let that guy walk out the door. And now you have someone holding a featherweight title with perhaps the keys to this huge Mexican market that the UFC's been gunning for since Cain Velasquez.
That is true, yeah. I mean, everyone remembers the big Cain push. I know the UFC kind of got criticized, like, it's people get all weird on where someone's born and all that stuff. But yes, the UFC's been trying to push that one for a minute. Let's see here.
Yeah. So
wow.
Yeah, I'm really impressed by what Yair was able to accomplish tonight. That's excellent fight for him.
My guy Ghost Phantom says Yair has nothing for Volk. Volk's lateral movement, feints, entries are just on a higher level, and it's hard to track them. Will definitely be a much harder fight. That's for dang sure. Obviously, you guys know I don't bring my analysis till fight week, but obviously, gun in my head, I'm picking Volk there. But it doesn't mean it's not an exciting fight.
Yeah, that's not one that I think will be so simple for Volk to just come in and just do what he does. We're seeing Yair evolve over the last few fights that he's had. He's someone that just at his raw level presents this danger to everyone, that he can kick you upside your head at any point in time if he so chooses to. That's a skill that not many people in the world possess. So it's hard to train for that. It's hard to find somebody that can emulate that level of explosiveness for that long. It's just not that simple. Rodriguez, I wouldn't favor him necessarily against Volkanovski off the top of my head either. But Volkanovski walks out of that one banged up. Like it looks like he was in a fight, if I had to guess right now.
Yeah. If I had to guess as well, I think Volkanovski would probably have to go back to his older style for that one and kind of Frankie Edgar him, back to his kind of early Khabib-like style that Volk had as far as just coming in and thrashing people. Different meta, but different style, but I mean, similar theme. So, because Rodriguez, like my guy Ghost Phantom points out, is comfortable being on his back. James Kendrick asks, how highly do both of us rate the win over Ortega for Yair? That's a hard one to answer because with the injury, to be honest.
Yeah, it's one of those things, like, it happened, but I don't know what we really can take away from it. It's good on the resume, but in reality, it doesn't mean what it looks like on the resume. Maybe that's the best way to say it.
Yeah, I don't think it should hurt or help either guy too much, if that makes sense.
Yeah.
Just win something like that. You can't bolster them up too high. You can't criticize them too hard for anything like that. It was out of both their hands in a sense. As far as the injury, I know it was created by a move that Yair did, but the fight there wasn't much. It was within one round, so there wasn't a lot to gather, to be honest.
Yeah, definitely. All right, so Cocaine Bear. I do kind of want to see this. I'm not even gonna lie.
At this point, I do now. Yeah, too. I gotta get pretty messed up to go enjoy this kind of a movie.
So this is the first commercial for this that I've seen all night because I didn't watch all of the prelims, so I missed the Cocaine Bear commercials that have probably been running all night. But did I just see your man from The Wire on there? Was the mayor?
Cool. Oh yeah. I didn't catch it. Was he in that? That'd be great. Shit.
Him in that movie means I got to see it. That's a guy you just go to the movies to see. Cause
is it Clarence?
Shit.
Was his name Clarence?
Clarence Whitlock or something.
Oh, I know. Now I'm thinking of that. Yeah. Right. Yeah. Something. Yeah. Something like that. Ah. Jeez. His name. That was a good one. Shit. I love The Wire. That's my favorite. That's like. I still haven't. There are some classics I still haven't gone back to seeing, so I can't, really weigh in even on my own opinion. I guess like I still haven't seen like Sopranos and like things that people hold in high regard. Right. I'm not disrespecting it. I have seen the Breaking Bads, the Game of Thrones, the other classic ones, and for me, The Wire is just hits something that no other show has. So that one's high. That one. Always.
I've got one show higher than The Wire. Like The Wire is on my all-time top 10, but The Shield I would put above The Wire. I think The Shield accomplishes a lot of the same things that The Wire went out to offer social commentary, to critique certain things and give these like raw looks at different segments of society. But I
like just following things, like not like because of my ADD, but like just sitting down and making time for the show, I guess, from the start. But I always reference that whenever Damon Jackson fights because he looks like Walt Goggins on that show. It's like, hey,
like Walton Goggins, man, was such a fantastic actor.
Oh, he's great.
I actually kind of hate him because of his character in The Shield. Like if I saw him in the street, I'd be like, you jackass. But that's only because he's such a good actor.
Yeah, he is. I always, so you would appreciate if I was like, oh, Damon Jackson, he was great in The Shield. You would know what I was talking about.
Oh yeah, I would know exactly what you're talking about. Yeah.
I always, people on podcast listeners take a shot. They're probably sick of me doing that joke all the time. But yeah, that's when I'm always tweeting like Jamie Malarkey fought earlier, and I always tweet Ted Danson gifs because he looks like Ted Danson's bastard son. Ted Danson had some fun in Australia. Right? Yeah. Yeah, maybe after 3 Men and a Baby wrapped, he went and had some fun. I don't know. Out came Jamie Malarkey. There's another old reference for folks. There we go. 3 Men and a Baby.
Yeah, 3 Men and a Baby. That movie came out when I was like 5 or 6.
Yeah. Ted Danson, man.
Yeah, I haven't heard that name in a long time.
I mean, could you imagine if Ted Danson had a clash of heads? He's immediately getting a point taken. You know what I'm saying? I mean, swinging that thing around. Whew.
That's going to be a no contest. Like, he's knocking someone out with that thing.
Sorry, Ted. Again? Yeah, that's the rules.
It's like, hey, you know what happens, man. He got one of them Evander Holyfield bullet heads, man.
Which, by the way, props to, I know we were singing Herzog's praises, but props to Mark Goddard for the point taking the Crute and Menefield fight. I don't know if you caught that, but that is when...
No, I missed that.
Everyone was applauding Tyone for taking a point for the inadvertent clash of heads that really didn't affect anything but choice, paycheck, and record last week. And it's not that I'm saying that the referee wasn't. The referee, of course, was in his right, but like I found it almost crazy that there was as many people defending as there was people upset that their bets got squelched. Like I understand there's going to be a crowd that's upset with their bets got squelched, but there was like a whole nother crowd that was like, no. this is okay because we always complain that they don't take points, and now they do. And I noted that. I said, okay, everybody's saying that.
Mm-hmm.
Keep that same energy while we return to our normal programming on fight-changing fouls from cage grabs to eye pokes, right? And we were reminded that tenfold of this card with all. It was brutal foul season on the prelims with no points taken. So props to Mark Goddard for showing how it's done. An actual fight-changing foul, getting a point taken away. That's when it should happen.
Yeah, it's like, what's the point of having rules if they're not going to be enforced? Especially in things that change the outcome of fights. Like,
absolutely.
The rules are there for a reason. Like, we're trying to, if we want to have just straight up no holds barred fights, then so be it. But that's not what this is. This is mixed martial arts with a rule set. Must follow that rule set in order to be competing in a fair fashion. So
right. Walkout starting now. But yeah, we saw Coolabout take a spinning back kick to the dick. And the ref's like, there wasn't much on that. And then, speaking of head clashes, it looked like a straight up head butt that Melsick did standing in open space. Not even a warning. Yeah, so it's like, why do we have these rules if they're not, for the actual fight changing stuff? So we crap on the refs, so I wanted to give Goddard props on that.
Yeah, reffing is certainly not an easy job. It's one of those things that if you're good at it, you're not going to be noticed. Like, you're not supposed to be noticed. You're supposed to blend in seamlessly to the action. And Herzog and Goddard do a fantastic job of just blending in.
Yep. Hey, speaking of positive notes, my guy Alvin Yakitori in the chat, always spreading positivity. He says, "Good evening, gentlemen. I wish all the competitors good health and a good performance on this wonderful card. I do as well." Alvin Yakitori.
That's a beautiful thing to say.
He is. I love the positivity. He goes, "Such an exciting time to be a fight fan. We get to see high-level skill and hard work put on display, especially for this fight in particular. I mean, say what you will about pound-for-pound rankings or your thoughts on them. These are two top pound-for-pound talents. The number one, in my opinion, Volkanovski. And, man, like I'm very excited. I'm very excited right now. I was trying to downplay it. Part of me is worried for Volk right now as a fan. But what are your feelings, Ant?
I'm excited too. I'm not as, just over the moon as a lot of people are right now. And I feel like I should be, because this is, pound for pound 1 and 2 and facing each other, and it's never happened before. We didn't even get like GSP and Anderson and, some of the other potential pound for pound matchups that we could have gotten. I should be more excited, but we're still seeing a guy who fights at 145 fighting a guy who fights at 155, and that 155er has this insane wrestling base and this ridiculous pace and throws all this damage and throws his weight around against bigger guys. I don't think it bodes well for the smaller man. However, Volkanovski isn't the average guy to make 145. He's someone who, in his personal life, he walked around at like 210 as a rugby player. So he's used to bigger men, on him. He kind of knows how to handle himself in that regard. And this is a chance for him to challenge himself and attempt greatness. So I can't really say anything bad about that.
Absolutely. James Kendrick in the chat says Craig Jones in the corner as well as Frank Hickman. Yeah, he's got a good corner there, James. And yeah, I agree with the notes that, that Ant says, I know they talk about him, being a former rugby player ad nauseum, but the fact is the guy's undefeated at 145 and 155, with the way people hold undefeated records, as we've seen with fighters like Khabib. I mean, let's say Volkanovski didn't take that, that random fight early in his career on the regionals all the way up at welterweight or maybe even at 185. That's where his lone defeat comes from, ladies and gentlemen. Undefeated in the UFC, debuted at lightweight against a southpaw. The only other southpaw on his record, Yusuke Kasuya. Volkanovski undefeated in 2 weight classes, 5-0 at featherweight throughout his entire career. All 5 of those fights he finished in the first or second round.
Yeah, I'm really excited for a couple of things. One, to see how Volkanovski responds to this test, this amount of pressure, to have your home country watching you. You're taking the biggest leap in your career by far. And then to see what Makhachev has to offer. The narrative coming into his last fight that won him the belt against Charles Oliveira, I'm somebody who picked Oliveira for that fight. And you thought like, okay, well, Makhachev is probably vulnerable on the feet. His ground game probably gets negated by Oliveira's submission prowess, but we saw Makhachev outstrike Oliveira and really beat him up at will. What wrinkles does he show this time? Like, does he have some tricks in the bag that he hasn't shown yet that he's going to display tonight? You know, it's just a fun fight. I'm not sure if it's the best fight that could have been made in either division, but I'm happy to see it just because we don't get things like this too often, to have two champions meet each other at this point in their careers.
Yeah, absolutely. Usually these things are kind of post when they're supposed to happen, and boxing, depending on what area you're talking about, and MMA alike, right? So yeah, Makhachev, of course, walking to the check-in station now. Wayne Lamon has got a question in the chat. Speaking of Craig Jones, what do you guys think? What do you guys think of guys like GSP teaming up with Gordon Ryan, Zhang Wei Li teaming up with Josh Hinger, and now Volk with Craig Jones? All three won medals at ADCC in 2019. I know they're all ADCC winners. I didn't realize, all in 2019. That's probably just a fun factoid to go along with your point, and I assume your point being high-level MMA fighters, champions training with ADCC fighters. Probably not dumb, because ADCC, it's kind of the grappling accolade I respect the most when looking at MMA guys, because it's not just a top-level tournament, but it's a top-level tournament that involves submission finishes and no gi, right? And not the kind of like points IBJJF, something that's rarely reputable, but I don't rank as highly, for example. That's what I'm looking at MMA skills.
And it's also a competition that encompasses different styles of grappling. Mm-hmm. So you'll have judo players, you'll have BJJ guys, you'll have wrestlers, you'll have sambo, you'll have a wide representation of the grappling world there. So if you can cut it in ADCC, you are very, very well versed against anyone on the ground, no matter what discipline they originated from. I think it's a logical evolution of MMA fighters training to seek out those types of grapplers, because they've sought out the highest level of boxing trainers. Like, you've got guys like Freddie Roach cornering MMA fighters and making frequent trips to Wild Card and some of the other like prominent boxing gyms. You've got the Dutch style of kickboxing that has permeated its way through mixed martial arts. Like, so striking has seen this. They have reached out to strikers of all backgrounds and disciplines and whatnot to improve their game. So it makes sense to go to submission grappling and do the same thing.
Absolutely. I like made the note about different styles. Of course, tail of the tape up now. Makhachev 5'10", 5'6" for Volkanovski is what's being highlighted on the tail of the tape is the biggest difference. Volkanovski, surprisingly to some, has a 1-inch reach advantage over Makhachev. Thank you guys for joining. Like the video. And Ant, thank you, man. This has been fun, man.
Oh, absolute, man. I love doing this with you, man. So anytime we can get it in, let's do it.
And when really crazy stuff happens, you guys will be getting the realest of the real reactions. So that's always fun. We got Mark Goddard in tow for this one here.
Just to hear Bruffer say, "This is brought to you by Cocaine Bear." Just chef's kiss.
Oh my
That's
God. Cocaine Bear. Again, if we could just give people nicknames, because I part of it is giving people funny nicknames. Half of it's like hearing Buffer say it, Like Victor Pesta, I was saying on the last podcast, Victor Pesta should have his nickname as Sex, Victor Sex Pesta.
Man, we need Frank Trigg to come out of retirement.
Yeah. Oh my God. Dude, Trigonomics. Remember that? Remember his clothing brand back in the day?
I do remember.
He was one of the early guys doing that. When you think about it, it was kind of, I mean, it still really hasn't caught on as much as it should, with the fact that fighters, need to do that to make some money these days. But
right.
Shouts to those early pioneers ahead of the, a little too far ahead of the game, unfortunately for them, before the money showed up. But good thinking.
Yeah, Frank Trigg, now a very good official now for the CSAC. I've seen him at quite a few events, and he's looking like someone's loving uncle.
Yeah, he is.
He's kind of fit into that uncle role very nicely, I think.
By the way, Wingding Australia, and then I saw some other promos, and it was like naming places by Volk, and I'm like, wait, is he in Thailand? Is he like the names of a certain part? Maybe Mark Fellows, an Australian, can weigh in. Is the part where Volk's from? Do they have like more? I guess for the lack of my ignorance here, like more native like names or like something like that going on? Because like I felt like everything in Volk's town had like, I don't know, like didn't sound like Melbourne or Adelaide or Sydney. Right? You know, like it didn't like it doesn't feel like the same as part of the same thing. Maybe that's really obvious for someone who lives in Australia, and I sound like an idiot there. I'm just curious because he's got like cool pronunciations. Like it looks like it says Wingding, but I think it's like pronounced like something different. I don't know. It's cool. It almost sounds Chinese where he's from. I'm like, oh wow, it's cool. As a Chinese guy, I'm like, oh okay. Some of this sounds kind of familiar, but not.
Islam Makhachev getting introduced right now. Man, this is a rough one to come into your first title defense in enemy territory like this. But if I remember correctly, he won his belt in Abu Dhabi, correct?
Who did?
Makhachev.
Yeah, he did. Yeah, yeah.
Yep. So I guess you're paying it forward now.
Indeed. Oh, ready to start this one, folks. Here we go. Let's see if the big betting lines was justified. Round 1 starts. Timex clock, 4:57, 4:56, 4:55.
And that size of difference is very apparent right now.
Yep, Makhachev, the southpaw, taking the center. Volk looking to fight off that lead hand a little bit like he did with Ortega's southpaw stance.
Yeah, you can see that city kickboxing in him coming out. Like he's trying for the feints. He's trying to get the reads on Makhachev right now. Let's see if he bites on anything.
Yep, Volk's going to want to have to keep a pace without opening himself up to Makhachev's underrated striking counters and obviously the takedowns. That essentially is Volk's task tonight.
Yeah, so another long filling out period, sort of like the co-main, and yet again a kick starts off the proceedings there. Makhachev throwing a front kick out. Volk returns with a leg kick.
Yep, Volk showing low looks like body shots.
Yeah, went 2 to the body, feints, 3 up top.
And then he's coming up high. I really like that. Volk now, he's taking the center now a bit, which I like to see from Volk. I think, that's the general concept against a grappler threat. You can draw out their shots and defend them easier if you get them on the back foot. So that's what Volk is trying to do, I think, right here. That was more of Volk's older style, but we all know Volk can fight on the outside at a decent pace as well.
You see him switching stances a lot. He's throwing out a lot of different looks. I think just trying to see how Makhachev reacts to something. Lands a nice leaping left hook. Nice. Oh!
Yep.
And a nice straight left.
The exact combo he landed on Ortega. Yep, the exact combo he landed on Ortega. Let's see how much homework Makhachev's camp did and that they have answers for that. Volk going back to that lead hand. He's using the lead hand to get a beat on exchanges. It'll get a beat and mute the check right hook counter, the best counter for a southpaw, and allow Volk to take that outside advantageous lane that you heard Dom Cruz talking about in a previous southpaw fight.
And see, Makhachev tried there. Looked like tried for a check hook. I'm not sure if it landed, but he threw that straight left afterward as well. So looks like he's starting to get some read on what Volkanovski has to offer, and he's trying to aim those shots down. He's clearly not going for a high volume game at the moment.
More feints from Volkanovski, taking the center, which is great for him. I don't know what Makhachev's waiting for here, but not the best start for him, I'd say. Nice counters, though. Oh, drop Volkanovski with the counter.
Head kick from Makhachev. And he's closing the distance.
Yep.
Flying knee.
I was about to say, I wasn't sure.
Got his back.
I wasn't sure what Makhachev was waiting for, but now he is testing his strength. Gotta like what he's feeling here.
Yeah, see him. Looks like he's trying to drag this to the floor. Volkanovski doing his best to stay against that fence. Try to break the hand grip.
fighting the hands. But it's the
See
foot
if
play
he can get out of
Makhachev's
that
going to try to
body
beat him to. The foot play. Multiple attacks at multiple levels. Best guys in the world. It's that leg work. In the clinch, standing, or on the floor. Best grapplers. It's that leg work. But yes, Volkanovski smartly fighting the hands. He's got to separate the grips.
Yeah, he's keeping the legs wide, but to no avail. Makhachev does get it to the ground. He's wrapping the leg up. Still sort of got his back.
Yep, he's got one hook in, two hooks in now. He's wedging himself between the fence and Volkanovski's back to take Volkanovski's back.
Very firmly got his back. Let's see if he can get some space off the fence and turn something out of this position here.
I got flashbacks to Dustin Poirier and Khabib when Volkanovski briefly went to a switch in the scramble, which kind of led to this position, similar to how it did for Dustin.
Yeah, and on this time, though, Volk is pretty fresh, so let's see if he can... Oh, wow. He's sunken in. Looks more like a face crank right now.
Yeah, they're dry. You just take what you can get and crank if you're Makhachev. Let's see if he can get a good bite or Volkanovski can turn into him while fighting the hands. You see Volkanovski trying to turn into him now, but there's not much leverage for Volk.
That forearm right up against his jaw. Can imagine that squeeze is pretty tight, but Volk is still fighting the hands, able to strip that hand off the top of his head.
Well, the lack of leverage for Volk means there's a lack of finishing leverage for Makhachev, so it's kind of a two-way street. Not enough leverage for Volk to get out in this tight spot, but also not quite enough leverage for Makhachev to finish, and the round ends.
Good round, I think, for both guys. I mean, Volk definitely started that one off strong. Makhachev picked it up toward the end. Yet again, just like in the co-main event, just wondering, how does this inform the strategy from here on out?
Yep. Rain Lamina saying 10-9 Volk. Of course, we're not scoring, folks. I will say that head kick was blocked, although there is an argument for how much impact still comes through. So for me, you're judging how much do you weigh the counters, which are showing up in the replay now. It was more of not the cleanest shot behind the ear. There were two left hands. Neither were clean. One was slightly cleaner, enough to wobble Volkanovski. So I believe it's how much do you weigh that and the grappling at the end. But I will say, aside from the one brief crank, there wasn't another submission attempt that I remember, and there wasn't a lot of strikes either. Again, judges are looking for impact and really making hay by damaging or taking something out of your opponent with these positions. So 10-9 Volk, probably not a crazy score. I'm not scoring. Feel free to add in scores in the chat.
Yeah, I'm definitely not scoring this right now.
All right, round 2, 457, 456, 455 on our stream here. Volk with more feints. Islam taking the center this time. Let's see if he can keep it and keep the initiative in his hand that he ended the first round with.
You see Volk teasing that uppercut. Just want to give Makhachev something to think about if he shoots in.
Yeah, really good note on that. I know Ghost Phantom in the chat also liked that as well. Looking for more of those hand traps to get the beat.
Oh, nice duck under from Volkanovski. Good combination leg kick to the right hook, looks like on the way back up.
Definite speed advantage, as many predicted for Volkanovski. See how long he can keep it here.
Body kick from Makhachev. Looks like they both hit air on that very odd sequence.
Yeah. Number 2 to the 3 upstairs for Volk. He repeats it again. Drops Makhachev.
Drops Makhachev. Makhachev turns that into a takedown, going for the single leg.
Excellent awareness in the scramble. Makhachev now having pinned Volk on top in between the fence. Volk trying to stand slowly here. Let's see if he goes for that switch again or just tries to smartly stand and fight the hands. There we go. He stands to fight the hands.
Yeah, it looked like as Makhachev tried to sink a hook in, Volkanovski took that opportunity to bounce back up.
Yep. It's on the hands again. Makhachev really trying to off-balance him.
Yeah, Volk got that really, really wide stance also, trying to maintain that solid base. And Makhachev drags him down, but struggles to take the top position.
Nice scramble.
Volkanovski initiates the scramble, and they're back on their feet, trading shots.
this is going to be a pace that Makhachev has not seen since his fight with Arman Sarukian. He was the fresher man down the stretch of that fight, but that was a 3-round fight. Keep in mind, they are scheduled for 5 as we are in round 2, 241. Volk reverses position and smartly adds in some strikes. Note to what I was talking about earlier.
I think another thing to remember too, as this fight takes a higher pace and could potentially see later rounds, they've had a shorter window to rehydrate as well.
Yep.
And we know Makhachev does not have the easiest weight cut, so that could become a factor.
Absolutely. The travel and smaller rehydration windows, both of those affect Makhachev, and not really Volkanovski, being the fact that he's fighting. Makhachev has the center. Let's see what he can do with it. Volk trying to take it back.
And Volk is very dedicated to making sure he throws offense at every level. So he's throwing leg kicks, he's throwing body punches, he's going shots to the head. He's doing it all at the same time. Like, he's mixing things up very well.
Absolutely. That's why so many analysts, fans of the game, just really appreciate Volk's game. And he gets hit with a counter. Makhachev on the march.
Like, as we said earlier, throwing the body shots in MMA is a risk, and Volk took that risk, and he paid for it. I believe it was Makhachev countered off of that 2 to the body.
Yeah, I believe it was a counter left. So that's the power shot from Makhachev. Another left. Volkanovski slips. Seems to have his eyes about him. But Makhachev is on the attack.
And Volk still throwing the feeler hand out there to gauge the distance. And the leg kicks are still coming. He has not stopped with the leg kicks this entire time. Back to the body with the 2. More
feints for Volk. Islam still keeping the center real estate. Volk playing the outside well.
Volk back against the fence. In the clinch, it looks like he's put Makhachev against the fence, but he's still in the tie clinch.
Yeah, he ate a nice little short shovel shot that I like Makhachev throw. I haven't seen him throw too many of those. Very effective for Volk's stature.
Yeah, he's eating some knees right now. Not sure how much of an effect it'll be since Makhachev can't really get too much wind up on the knees with his back against the fence.
Yeah, back against the fence, knees to the body are good, but the first ones that he was throwing didn't look too leveraging, to your point. Yeah, Volk's doing a real good job of staying hip to hip. And when you do that, it's real tough to get that leverage. And we have come to a close for round 2. Wow.
Very good fight so far. And yet again, happy to not be a judge right now.
Yep, we've got Joe Lopez, I believe, the head coach for Volkanovski, Freestyle MMA, and of course Eugene Behrman, the sister gym. Connection made through Brad Riddell, who you'll see in Volkanovski's corner throughout his earlier UFC career. Of course, Jav Mendez in the corner of Makhachev. Folks, feel free to submit your scorecards in the chat. We are not scoring that one. Though again, 1-1 wouldn't be surprising to me to see those scores floating around out there. Maybe you got some 2-2s. You were really swayed by Makhachev's work in round 1. Again, we're not scoring. That's up to you, and mainly it's really up to the 3 people sitting cage side, getting ready for round 3. It's
a difficult fight to score. I mean, both guys in both rounds so far, they've done sort of what they have intended to do.
Mm-hmm.
They've both looked very good so far.
Rain Lamina saying he goes 10-9 Volk due to body work. All right, 451, 450. Into the third round here. More lead hand parries from the outside from Volkanovski as he feints to come in. Makhachev almost bullying without throwing strikes, trying to come forward and really assert himself in the center.
Yeah, head kick partially blocked for Makhachev. Stance switch from Volkanovski.
Makhachev might be looking to counter again based on his past success, and at this point of the fight, maybe take a breather.
See if he Yeah, we see Volkanovski hasn't done a lot of his charging offense so far in this round. Last couple of rounds, within the first minute, he was definitely throwing those charging combinations. It's an unusual one to charge in like that and then go for the body shot.
Yeah.
Yeah, going for the body hook on that is a dangerous one.
I don't know if he maybe improv'd mid-motion. A low kick there for Makhachev, not much on it. And a body kick, much harder.
Body kick, that had some steam on it.
Yes. Volkanovski returning.
Oh,
Head, body, legs.
back to the leg kicks.
Another body shot from Volkanovski. Step and hook.
Yeah, stepping with that jab as well. Another switch stance.
Yeah, Volkanovski is going to be gambling, but I don't blame him for going to the body in these first 3 rounds. Let's see if it pays off for him. He's really going to have to pick up the pace, in my opinion, regardless of how it scored. Nice inside low
nice
kick.
leg kick. Stumbled Makhachev a little bit.
Another step through hook. I think Alex did those 2 to the body and then went up high. So he's planting seeds everywhere. He's planting traps everywhere as Volkanovski.
Yeah, kind of finished with the jab on that charge in too. So he's definitely given a lot of unique looks.
Makhachev changing levels. Volk showing good
Wow,
defense.
Volk stuffed it.
Good head pressure.
Makhachev,
got on the legs.
Unrelenting.
Yep.
In on the legs. Just about completed that takedown. And there it is, a completed takedown. But Volk pop him right back up. Let's see if he can get completely up to his feet. As Makhachev further and try to take his back.
Volk trying to wedge in, trying to turn into him, turn that underhook into him with the off of a 2-on-1 control of the wrist. No, goes to the leg, turns in successfully, reestablishes his underhook to Volkanovski. He is excellent at that. Excellent fundamentals from Volkanovski. Keeping Makhachev honest.
It's very methodical, too, his approach. Like, you're not seeing a bit of panic. Where other guys have sort of crumbled underneath Makhachev, Volkanovski maintaining his composure and just going step by step. How do I get up from here?
More feints from Volkanovski on the outside. I really think he should, if he can, pick up the pace here for him. Whereas Makhachev definitely, needs to be pace managing. Nice counter left from Makhachev.
Yeah, looks like Volk ran right into that one.
And right there is a good reason why maybe he's not pushing it a little harder, right?
All right, that'll teach you. Makhachev tried for another body kick there, missed.
Yeah. Volkanovski's counter wrestling keeping Makhachev honest, but Makhachev's striking counters keeping Volk honest. Again, for anybody discounting either of these guys in either realm, we're wrong there, and that's getting proven here. Brief switch up from Volk there. Still looking to paw at that lead hand, which I love. And body head.
Oh,
a little bit of a foot sweep. Yeah, a little bit of an inverted foot sweep there.
Right there.
Yeah. I don't know if he meant to or it was just a bonus from him shifting forward, but Volk will take it, will play off it. Yep. And he's got outside position and is trying to swarm Makhachev, tries to take him down, fails, but gets a nice knee to the body off the break, continues to attack.
It's a nice sequence there from Volkanovski.
Yes.
And going back to the feints, and they'll ride the clock out.
Excellent stuff. Excellent.
Probably the best round for Volkanovski so far, I'd say.
I agree. Even if you wanted to, no matter who you want to give those first 2 rounds, they were competitive, right? They were competitive to close, right? But yeah, that was arguably the most definitive. That round was competitive, but that round was also arguably the most definitive of the 3. For Volkanovski. Let's see what the chat thinks. Of course, we're not scoring. Rain Lamina says really wishes body punches were scored highly. I do too. I got to try to catch myself to not overcorrect the steering wheel, but that's also a reason why I'm annoying on Twitter whenever body things come through, because I feel like I have to do it because there's just so much of a slant from the Gen Pop to media to the educated judges in the actual seats. It's just not being respected enough. It's obvious at this point. Literally 90 to 95% of all things from close to controversial to outright robberies all those common threads are counters and body work and sometimes leg kicks. So I got to keep preaching that until people realize that the sky is in fact blue. Ready for round 4.
Yeah, body shots are just something that I don't think you have proper respect for unless you've trained, unless you sparred. Like that's you'll learn very quickly how effective body shots are when you start receiving them.
Yes, and then there's also the natural human nature of big swinging shots that don't necessarily landing clean, right? And that happened to me earlier with that head kick from Makhachev early in the fight. That didn't necessarily land, but it got me to jump.
Absolutely.
Feints from Volkanovski on the outside. Makhachev back at the center. 430, 429.
Makhachev backing up a little bit when Volkanovski does some of the feints. So I'm fully expecting Volk to start playing into that. Maybe initiating those blitzes again.
Yeah.
Nice slip from Volk.
A little low blow there. They both acknowledge it. Mark Goddard lets the action go on. 354, 353, 352, 351. Nice left hand.
Gladys says, left hand square on Volkanovski's chin.
Nice counter right by Islam. Yeah, the slower pace is going to favor Islam.
The slow jab. Yeah. You throw that sort of slow labor jab out there, expect it to get countered in that fashion. Oh, Makhachev.
Nice level change.
Changing levels.
Very nice level change in the open.
Quick takedown.
He's got his little ankle cuffs on him. Reaches for the wrist pin. Takes the back exposure that Volkanovski gives. Trying to get to the fence. Islam body triangle.
Yeah, that was risky. I mean, you understand, wanting to get to the fence, but to go to that limb to get to the fence and essentially give up your back in the process, that's a big gamble right there for Volkanovski.
Yeah, bigger weight classes, you can get away with that a little bit. Unless you're facing Marcin Tybura, one of the few guys who will take it back at heavyweight. We saw Blagoy do that move, and I felt bad for Blagoy because I'm like, that usually works at heavyweight. Featherweight, though, no. Or lightweight, no. Especially against a guy like Makhachev.
Yeah, in the body triangle now, and and against the fence, it's going to be very difficult for Volk to try to do the textbook thing, which is putting the pressure where the ankle is and where the ankle locks up. So, looks like Volk is going to be stuck here for a little bit unless he figures another way out.
Yeah, I like that he's keeping a positive attitude, Not that you should be surprised or anybody is surprised for a guy like Volk, but I know it's something that I and many will try to do in precarious positions. You try to psych yourself out that it's not as miserable as it is. Smiling is a good answer, but he's going to need more than that.
All right. And he certainly needs some space off that fence if he were to get out of that body triangle. It looks like Mike is squeezing that tighter also.
I don't know if there was a glove grabbing that Goddard was trying to stay on top there, but they're back to work.
I think that was, yeah. Yeah, I think it was some fingers in the gloves there that forced a brief pause. There's a lot of hand fighting going on for obvious reasons. And Volkanovski doing his best to not get sunk into that rear naked choke and, seeing if he can turn to take top position over Makhachev. Very difficult to do in that body triangle.
Yep.
Though.
At the very least, he's trying to get you'll hear Cormier talk about this, get his hips into a certain pocket to where he's not back to back and perfectly aligned with the mat. He's trying to get into an angle and kind of sit his lower back and hips as much as he can. Makhachev has great position with a tight body triangle, but Volk is at a kind of slightly negative angle, which is good. You want to keep the position negative. He's really trying to keep his back to the mat and Makhachev off to his left, if you notice, folks.
Right, and Volk for a second there was trying to pin Makhachev's arm under his own leg to no avail right there. Makhachev looked like he realized what was going on, repositioned his hands, and now is once again threatening that choke.
Yep. That's also Makhachev's underhook side that Volkanovski is sagging toward, which is good because the underhook side is what you can use to transfer to come up for head and arms or topside mount to finish the round. So might as well stay safe. have a good attitude like Volkanovski is displaying and recoup for the next round and, kind of surrender this one, if you will.
Yeah, this is definitely a great round. Great way to end the round if you're Islam Makhachev, especially coming off of that third round.
Yep, and it wasn't just the grappling, folks. Makhachev did land some good counters in the striking, phase of that round. It wasn't too high pace there for Volk, probably as he would have liked. So
yeah.
Feel free to feel free to put your scores in, folks. Me and Ann aren't scoring right now, but feel free to let us know what you guys think.
Yes, please do. Please do. I'm very curious what the general public is thinking of the scores right now, because
no scores yet. Just talking about the non-leveraging strikes that Volk was throwing off of his back. Yeah, I don't. I appreciate the spirit, but I'm not one to count those too high. I hate when those are overvalued, and I love Volk, but yeah, I agree with you. But yeah, you could argue that we got two close rounds in the beginning, and then you could argue maybe a round apiece, since not too hard to argue for Volk 3, probably not too hard to argue for Mach 4. But again, I'm calling it. I could look crazy saying that right now, folks. You feel free to let us know. We're getting ready to start the final round, round 5. Waiting for the cage to shut. Mark Goddard counts us in.
And here we go.
457, 456, 455.
Sportsmanship to start off the round, and they're back at it with the violence. So
yep.
Every round's pretty much started off the same. They start in the center, sort of feeling one another out. Volkanovski pawing for that lead hand, switching stances, teasing the uppercut. Oh, nice counter left from Makhachev as Volkanovski landed the leg kick.
Yep, almost kind of acknowledged that. Let's see if Volk tries to take initiative, set the pace. Yep, body head. There he goes to the leg.
Nice leg
He's got
kick.
Makhachev on the back foot now. Volk firmly in the driver's seat right now, taking. Ooh, good knee by Makhachev in the left hand.
Knee coming in there. Volk eats that one. Like, nice lean back from that hook from Volk.
Yeah, that was sweet. We'll say every time Volk gets going though like this, it feels like Makhachev is able to sting a counter and kind of settle the party back down.
Yeah, so we're seeing Volk very committed still to that sort of high fly offense, to come in, charge, blitz in, get your licks off, change levels. 2 knees that he ate in the clinch there.
Excellent knees
from Makhachev.
Very effective against Volk, which makes sense, the stature, but this is one of those late discoveries where he's like, oh, this is actually working pretty good. So, maybe that's a note for later if they fight again, or any other future Volk opponents that have a similar style archetype. That knee was great, though.
That was a very, very well-placed knee, followed up by an equally well-placed knee. And Makhachev gets the takedown with a quick level change. Volk is back up to his feet, digging for the underhooks as they go against the fence.
Volk is a warrior.
50-50
You got to
give
it up to him regardless of how this shakes out. I mean, that was impressive. Separates, back on the attack. What a fight. 3 minutes to go.
Volkanovski has handled the grappling against Makhachev better than anyone else at 155 has so far in the UFC.
Yeah, Sarukian not far behind in that argument, but I completely agree. And particularly impressive, obviously, being that Volk is a natural 45er who could probably make 35. That was his initial goal getting into the UFC, was to go down to 35. Interesting seeing him here.
Yeah.
Against a giant lightweight in Makhachev.
It's an interesting position right here. Makhachev tried for that single leg and
trying to crack him down.
Stuck in that position.
Nice move of the hips by Volk. Maybe a little oil check. No one's telling. It's okay. Nice sprawl. Makhachev still on the signal as they separate. High-level stuff there, ladies and gentlemen.
Very nice sequence there from Volkanovski. As he continues walking down Makhachev, let's see if Makhachev can land one of those really sharp counters again to sort of take the steam out of his engine.
Makhachev looks like he's really digging deep for this one. You can see it on his face. Volk trying to press the wrestling on him. Makhachev able to defend. Wow. Still has the energy to play defense for Makhachev as he separates the grip. High whizzer, but Volk with superior outside cage position. 1 minute and 30 seconds to go as Volk looks to trip Makhachev to the floor. No dice.
Wow.
What a fight.
Volk's got Makhachev against the fence. They separate. And he's back at it with the punches. He's still walking him down. Makhachev looking tired. Wow, he gets dropped with the right hand.
In a competitive round, that could be enough for Volk, especially if he's able to stay on top here. This is a crucial round for both.
Takes top position in the closed guard of Makhachev, landing punches to the body. You see Makhachev going for wrist control. He's definitely going to trying to set up, at least thinking about an armbar or a triangle attempt.
Makhachev feeling it.
Let the wrist go.
Volkanovski loving it. 30 seconds roughly to go. Wow, this is a crazy fight here. Makhachev looks like he's just hanging on. Has he done enough to hold on to his title, or will Volkanovski be a double champ and further cement himself and his pound-for-pound greatness? 10 seconds.
Wow. Volk unloading from top position as the clock winds down, and we're going to make it to decision here.
My goodness, what a fight. We go the distance.
What an incredible fight.
Volk raises his hands. Makhachev back up to his feet, raising his hands. But how do the judges have it? How does the chat have it? How do you guys have it? This is crazy. Wow.
Yeah, this is a nightmare fight to score, I must say. I'm so glad I'm not a judge right now, but what an excellent fight. No matter what those judges say, Alexander Volkanovski deserves his flowers right this second.
Yes.
That was an amazing challenge to take. And he survived it at the very least, and certainly impressed in many spots. If he didn't walk away with the win here, he's still a winner in my book.
Yeah, me too, man. I as much as I've been getting everything wrong, it feels like I wouldn't mind getting this one wrong at all. I said that in my breakdown, but I also said it would go to decision. I wish I bet that, especially with the night I had. We'll get to a recap once the dust settles here, folks. Hold those thoughts, but yeah, I think Volkanovski takes 5 and 3. And in that case, you only have to really have an argument that he gets at least one round on at least 2 of the judges' scorecards between rounds 1 and 2. I don't think that's too crazy. We could see a new champion here, folks. I don't want to get any hopes up. We aren't scoring. Let's see. But yeah, wow.
Wow, that was a hell of a performance right there. This is definitely not what I expected to happen here tonight. I was pleasantly surprised.
The part is I'm going to be not mad if Volk wins. I'll be happy if Volk wins, but kind of mad at myself because I expected this. I picked Makhachev, but I said it's going to be very competitive and close. Is it going to be close enough where I can confidently pick Volkanovski? Not enough for me. I ended up picking Makhachev, but again, I warned anybody discounting Volkanovski, anybody believing the hype, believing the lines. Volkanovski deserves respect regardless, and Makhachev, this was a great experience for him regardless too. So this is good for Makhachev as a fighter, folks. Wow, retains.
Whoa, wow.
I missed the numbers. Anyone catch numbers on the card?
49, 46, and 2 48, 47s.
Who had the 49, 46? I mean, I think it should have been 48, 47 either way. I think Volkanovski had a closer argument for 49, 46. He had 2 of the 3 definitive rounds, which is not only more definitive rounds arguably than Makhachev, but if you have 2 of the 3, you really got to make a good argument to have a 49, 46 the other way.
Yeah, I mean that's.
Let's see what Twitter's saying. It was close. It was close. No complaints here, especially the fight we saw to start the card, folks. I mean, there's definitely. I'm not. Wow. All right, Makhachev getting interviewed now. Let's see. That was great. Yeah, no, not crazy scores. Let me. I'm gonna try to share this out. Well, and we'll give our last thoughts after these post-fight interviews. If you're cool to stick around, Ant, a little longer.
Yeah, we stick around for a few.
All right. Let me get this.
Man.
Wow. All right. I didn't get pulled down for having a little bit of post-fight last time, so hopefully this is still cool because I know it's picking up on my mic. I want to hear what Volk says. I'll turn this back down. Goes Phantom, 49, 46, 48, 47. Incredible fight.
Wow.
Let's see what Volkanovski's attitude is. Hopefully he's still good spirits.
Just as upbeat as he was when Makhachev had his back.
That was nice of Volk. How close is that class that is Volk? He said, maybe I didn't respect his striking enough either, because that's what I was saying is both sides there's people disrespecting, and they both proved their doubters wrong tonight.
Yeah, it's a fight. Both guys really got to do what they like to do. So
they shouldn't go down in stock.
Both men can, they both can walk away proud of what happened, regardless of the scorecards.
Absolutely. Yeah, I hope Volkanovski gets the respect he deserves after this. This is something we're letting. Yep. Wow. What a fantastic all class from Volkanovski. Ozzy. There we go. Getting everybody on. How good is Volk, man? Getting the crowd up on their feet and giving respect to his his competitor there in Makhachev. Love it. Love to see it.
Yeah, if you're in the lightweight division, if you're a Justin Gaethje or Dustin Poirier, like one of the guys that has been sort of cast out of the title picture thanks to the Khabib and his offspring essentially.
Mm-hmm.
How encouraged are you by tonight?
Right. Yeah. Absolutely. I'd say very encouraged. Very encouraged. We got some people coming in on the chat. James Kendrick says, I never understood the disrespect to Volk in the first place. Why did people do that in the past? Basically, I think it's not because of his attitude, that's for sure, but he beat Max Holloway and Jose Aldo, man. Like, those are two beloved dudes, you know? Like, that alone, even if you do it in all class, you're going to get some crap for it. It wasn't an exciting fight with Aldo. You had some close, but, some people thought controversial cards with the Volk Max series earlier on. I didn't. The close fight was the second one. And then you got the mix of the avid Makhachev Team Khabib fans who are just some of the most vicious fans out there in the space, you know. So you got a mix of both those things, I think, is your answer right there. But Volk is a great guy, man. He doesn't deserve any strays.
Yeah, for sure. For sure. Like, class act, total class act, the way he's handled everything.
Yeah, absolutely. I definitely think he proved his point there. Now, again, folks, someone asked about recap shows. Like I said, like last week, which makes sense. I feel like we need I joked on this week's podcast, and I was like, I feel like me and Ant need like our post-coital cigarette, kind of to talk just for a little bit after this ends, even though we're not doing anything coital. But you know what I mean? It's like we had.
Yeah, no, I get it. I get it. I'm all for the dirty jokes, man. I do. I'm down for that, man, because this it answers a lot of questions and asks even more. I really thought that Volkanovski was going to be very rudely reminded why weight classes exist. And that's very frankly what I thought was going to happen. I tried not to show it so much tonight, chatting here before our audience. But those are my thoughts coming into it. And Volkanovski not only was very clearly the smaller man, like he used all the things that a smaller man is supposed to use, with the speed and the quickness and changing levels and the variety in his offense. But he also met Makhachev head to head in the areas that Makhachev was supposed to dominate him in.
Yep.
And arguably could have won that fight. So Volkanovski, even though he came up on the losing end, he's still pound for pound number one, if you ask me.
Yeah, and I know it's ultimately it's subjective. It's silly. It could be considered Batman versus Superman stuff. But as a somebody who will raise his hand and admit that he's a fight nerd and into the history, I do appreciate that having pound for pounds. Why they did it in boxing. For the Sugar Ray Robinsons on how to give proper credit to lower weight classes, and what we mentioned before about lightweight being disrespected, right? From how the Jens Pulver days to even to today by the UFC matchmakers, how they disrespect that division, the way they book it week in and week out. Like, yeah, maybe you could argue, as silly as it is, maybe there was and still is a need and a way to give credit and credence to these lower weight fighters that kind of unfairly slip through the radar. And yes, I do believe that Volkanovski proves, and he shouldn't, I wouldn't, even though he's got a head-to-head loss, which I know that always kind of falls, but I don't know if he should lose that, because as Makhachev, even though how much he proved tonight, and I'm not trying to hate on him, and I want to praise him here in a second, but I will say, if there was any argument for pound rankings, it was that is Makhachev really number two, and is he only number two by default because of our recency bias, right? Like, what did he really do to earn it? He didn't have the hardest path to the title. He didn't even defend his title. He hasn't gone outside of his weight class multiple times like Volkanovski has in and out of the UFC. So these things do mean something, folks. So you're not crazy to say that, and you're not alone, Ant.
Oh, thank you. I felt like I could have been on an island there, but I mean, you got to give a lot of credit to the smaller guy who goes up and puts on a performance like that.
Yep. Yep.
Dropped him multiple times. He got dropped himself, but he put down the bigger guy a couple of times and was able to out-grapple him a couple of times. Like, it was, I imagine if someone that was bigger did technically the exact same things that Volkanovski did, we're looking at a clear winner.
Yes. Absolutely. Some of those, even those takedown positions, like, I feel like he would have been able to get him if it wasn't size, whereas like Islam had him dead to rights on some spots, and Volk was still conversely able to get out, right? Like, right. He lost the fight ultimately, but when you're looking at these things, within their own realms, much less the context that they were coming into this fight with, I don't see how you don't walk away with just crazy respect for both guys. But yeah, Ghost Phantom says, let me answer Ant's question with another question. Is there any lightweights with the ability to game plan like Volk?
Um, hmm, that's a very good question. The thing is, though, I'm not going to put it on the fighter necessarily to game plan. It's got to be the fighter's team, and I think we have a lot of guys at lightweight that have very capable teams behind them that can do the heavy lifting on that. You know,
Yes.
I'm gonna bring up Dustin Poirier's and Thiago Alves and having his. That is a very experienced team that could put together the game plan necessary to beat Volkanovski. To beat Makhachev based on what they saw tonight.
Man.
Do I expect Makhachev to come in his next fight and be the exact same guy we saw tonight? Of course not. He's going to have new wrinkles to his game. He's going to see where he was vulnerable in certain spots, and he's going to try his best to patch those holes. But I think you look at that, they're flashing the top 5 right now in the division on the screen. All 5 of those guys, and Oliveira included, in a rematch, could potentially do that if they were trained appropriately to do so.
I think so too. Yeah, it's a big thing. If as the team, and you know what, I was with you too with that Dustin and American Top Team because I technically picked Dustin. I knew it was a flyer, but I technically picked Dustin. I took a flyer on him to beat Khabib. But and other analysts have brought this up. Despite their really good coaching there, it was really frustrating in that fight. It became apparent that the game planning is arguably what was. Not that Dustin would have won that fight anyways, but the game planning was arguably what let him down in that fight as far as keeping your back to the cage. That kind of really negative cage positioning to fighters like Khabib or Islam is can be really troubling. Even Volkanovski, who is really good with fighting his back to the cage, like he wasn't as comfortable with it. You could see him trying to take that front foot initiative. The person I actually like the best, Ant, is Beneil Dariush, but I like him a little less because the one thing Dariush in all matchups I always got a question is his cardio and staying power. And seeing Islam go 5 rounds like that against a guy like Volkanovski at a pretty decent pace, right? Some rounds were maybe a little slower than others, but a pretty decent pace throughout. Arduous wrestling, right? The fact that he was able to come out on top on this one makes me like Dariush's chances less, but as far as the skill for skill go, I like Dariush's skill set.
Yeah, Dariush definitely has probably the best skill set overall to do it. I just have a lot of faith in Poirier's ability to do it simply because if he takes the same sort of striking approach that Volkanovski took, some of those blitzes, changing levels and whatnot, going for the body, leg kicks to finish combinations, there's going to be a lot more power behind them.
Yeah, yes, absolutely.
Does Islam hold up to that? If you have someone with the punching power and the accuracy and the frequency that Poirier's been able to put on, like do you really? Does your body hold up to it? Yeah, this is the guy who out leg kicked Justin Gaethje.
Yeah,
that's got to mean something.
Yeah, man, it's it definitely. Yeah, I could definitely, as you're saying that, see some shifting combinations from Poirier. I'd love to see it. I love me some Poirier, man. I'd love to see it. But we'll see how that lightweight division goes. They're finally having these guys branch out and fight other people, right? As far as like we've got like Gaethje, Fiziev, and some things like that. And that's what's been holding back that division is not just its lack of exposure, but it's just lack of like matches being made to forward the division. It's been again, the lightweight division has taken the strays amongst strays in the history of timeline, folks. Like give it respect and give the people who built it respect. We got some more people in the chat coming in. Synchro Wing says to parlay off of Ghost, but Dustin Poirier's team is only at ATT Wall Walk, which is pushed by Islam's team. I'm sorry, I mispronounced or misread that, Synchro Wing. You're talking about the ATT, the Wall Walk, which is punished by Islam's team. Yeah, I know what you mean. They use the wall walk to get up, and it's punished. Not just the wall walk, but I referenced in our live commentary, Poirier went to switches a lot, and that was a really bad tactical choice. And I didn't like that because it was getting him into trouble, and you actually saw it get Volk into big trouble in this fight. It was when he elected to switch, and Volk, smartly, he elected not to switch the next time he was in that position, right? So interesting notes there. I still love me some Dustin Poirier. I'll always think he has a chance whether I pick him or not.
Yeah, I think Michael Chandler too. Probably the one has the most similar build to Volkanovski. it would make sense for him to try to replicate a lot of what Volkanovski did, and yet again there'll be more power on the punches, more power on the kicks, more solidified credentials wrestling wise or whatever that can negate some of Makhachev's grappling offense. That sounds like an interesting one there. But since I brought up the name Chandler, let's just go ahead and address the elephant in the room, the elephant that's always in the room when you're talking about the lightweight title picture. Michael Chandler's next opponent is his coaching opposite on the Ultimate Fighter.
Yep.
I mean,
yep.
If he beats Chandler when this fight actually happens, he's getting a title shot. And exactly what the promotion's going to look like. Exactly what's going to happen. I mean, the writing's on the wall. This is what they want to happen.
I'm going to have a green clover-shaped treat while you're talking about a green clover-shaped sheet. That didn't even work. You know what I was trying to say there. You know what the funny thing is? That's actually perfect you bring that up because it only is sadly true, Ant. I guess shouts to myself because I'll probably need it after tonight as I look over my results here. My analysis, I don't get to write analysis like outside of the UFC washing machine beat that it keeps me in. But when I do, it does tend to age pretty well, which I appreciate, Whether we're talking about, prospects or I did a, McGregor potential opponents last year. And in the article, I did projected odds for a bunch of different people. And not only did I get it right for what Chandler's odds are, but I also said that it's probably the person McGregor low-key has the best chance of beating because of Chandler's fight IQ and the fact that, a faded Tony Ferguson, lest we not forget, came out southpaw and was lighting him up with a poor man's janky Conor McGregor moves. That it was a real bad look for Michael Chandler, and I'm like, if Tony, I know he eventually won that, but yeah, that is bad. So if he does win, the UFC is going to try to set that up, and then we're in store for that mess, which I don't even want to speak it to life, but it is worth mentioning because it could happen.
Yeah, I mean that's, I hate to say that's probably exactly what's going to happen. That's probably exactly what's going to happen at this point.
Yep. And by the way, I'm celebrating the treat because I was actually going to bring a bottle of it's not even like that nice of whiskey. I have and drink nicer whiskeys, bourbons, or scotches or whatever. But everyone's got a weird little tradition. And my tradition, if it's like a winning night, Ant, for the gamblers that are in the chat or watch and listen to the show, I also have a sip of Woodford Reserve.
Oh, that's good stuff.
I was like, okay, Woodford, W, winners. Woodford's win. I haven't had any Woodford this whole year, and I forgot to bring it to the table, but it didn't matter because we're not using any. This one, I did get wins on the main cards. Like I whiffed last one. I went 0-4-1 on the main card. This main card, because that's the main thing me and Ant watch, so we're not going to do anything in depth. We'll just kind of touch on results of this main card here. I went 3-1-1. Of course, there was a draw to open the night with Crute Menefield. But this fight actually, and it's tough. I don't want to bump my chest because it was another losing night for myself. But the annoying part about these losing nights, the hard thing, it's like analyzing fights, picking fights, and betting fights are all three different things. There are three completely different things. You can analyze a fight. Your analysis might point one way, but you know what? Maybe I'll just pick this other person because I've got an inkling feeling. And then you end up being right. Analysis be damned. It was your gut feeling, right? But maybe you don't even bet on a side. Maybe you just bet on something different, right? Or you pick the fight one way, but there's no value on the side you pick. So you throw a little sprinkle on the other side. So again, picks, bets, analysis, all three different things. And I'll tell you, Ant, it really burns. My analysis seems to be spot on, but these picks and plays, neither of them are go-to spot on. We had the main event I got right. Really right, actually. Makhachev by decision, much more competitive. All the threads that I took the time to tweet out, each guy showed the Volkanovski, the turnings, the fighting the hands, the Makhachev classic moves, all those things were all in play. And I don't know, man. It didn't, by the time the end of the night happened, I'll be honest, folks, I was kind of ugh. your boy got washed again. And then in the co-main event, and I'll throw it to you here, Ant, as we transition to the co-main event, I was really spot on because I was saying, again, cage positioning, kicks, body and legs, body KO round 2. And it was funny, I had Rodriguez KO round 2, and fight doesn't go the distance, which was the only bet that cashed. It's my most confident and biggest bet of the card, at least. And I didn't bet a lot, so it wasn't too big of a loss. But I was like, man, I was trying to keep my cool while we were calling it, Ant, because I was like, if he got that KO in round 2, that would have made up for the whole night. Like, I lost every bet up until that point. But that fight happened like exactly pretty much as I saw, minus the triangle at the very end. Of course, now Emmett wants to grapple. I was like, oh man. But yeah, no. My results aside, again, I stick to what I said. It was a fantastic, well-rounded performance. Like, you could not be happier if you were a Yair Rodriguez fan coming out of the co-main event, regardless of what you think of the title.
Definitely, because I think that the conventional wisdom says that the interim title, if it was necessary to do an interim title fight, then it should have been between Josh Emmett and Arnold Allen. Mm-hmm. Arnold Allen, of course, just got booked to fight Max Holloway at a Fight Night event coming up pretty soon here. But Yair, man, he did exactly what I thought he would do, except for the triangle choke. Like that was the one thing that I didn't expect to happen. I thought that we would see Emmett go head hunting, try to land that big bomb, and get just victimized by a variety of offense from Rodriguez, kicks from all angles, punches, cutting angles and whatnot. Like that he would find a way to sort of try to play Matador to the bull and get the win. I thought it was going to be like a third round TKO. I kind of thought it would be set up by the body shots and he dropped from that and, get some follow-up strikes. But I'll take the triangle choke too. That was fantastic from Rodriguez. And now it's like, does this make you more interested in seeing him and Volkanovski like unify the title?
It does, more than it did before, obviously, because I was very down on this fight. And it wasn't anything against either fighters. It's just, again, you could pick holes in their resumes. Not that you want to play that game. It's not fair to play that game, right? But it was easy to do here. And I've been a big critic of Rodriguez, despite being a fan of his style, because I'm a Taekwondo guy. Like, if anybody loves spinning to win and these kicks, is me. That's the thing. I hate about like being accused of like being like a hater of the guy, so to speak. But at the same time, like, yeah, I've definitely been critical and hard on him. And seeing a performance like this even gets like a curmudgeon like me excited, And I didn't even care about the interim title. And not that I care about it now, but I do care more about the matchup. To your point, Ant, I think everybody's a little more excited for that now.
Yeah, that should be an excellent fight. And yet again, like we saw an evolution in Rodriguez. We saw him add elements to his game. We saw him respond to a particular style matchup that probably should have been more difficult for him than it was. What does he add for the time that he has to face Volkanovski? When that fight is announced, like, what does he come in looking like?
Sorry, repeat that one again. I was reading something in the chat.
Okay, I'm just saying, what does Rodriguez look like against Volkanovski? What new wrinkles is he going to add to his game at that point? If we're seeing, a now consistently evolving version of him.
I'm not sure what's going to evolve. It's mainly just offense, really. He did show improved defense. You noted that in the live commentary, so he can show, more maturity, respect, better game planning, preparation. We're seeing signs of those things. Honestly, I think it's just what's always going to make him dangerous is the growing list of offensive threats, because before he would get a lot of credit for doing stuff off his back that was really a lot of slop. That would always kind of piss me off in the close fights with, maybe not so much with Dan Hooker wasn't a close fight, but even with Charles Rosa, which is a close fight that doesn't age as well as being a close fight. No offense, I love Charles Rosa, just saying. But like you would see Rodriguez go to these like non-leveraging leg tie-up 50-50s where there's not even a leg lock in play. And you just hear everybody getting wild going, ooh, creative dynamic jiu-jitsu. And I'm sitting here doing the Dan Tom gif. Like, come on, there's nothing there. So like to actually see him like do just bread and butter, triangle, waste no time, mess around, fuck around, find out. And, that's, Volkanovski now is definitely going to have to respect him, even though Volkanovski has really good ground and pound and top game. We'll definitely have to respect him on there. Speaking of Volkanovski, Ghost Phantom says, I'm actually happy Volk didn't go to his half guard underhook get up, because Islam would have went with a cross wrist ride. Yeah, it could have happened for sure. I guess that's one thing that didn't show up in the analysis there. But honestly, aside from the back control against the cage and another decent control time along the cage, Islam didn't really get Volkanovski flat in the open or on the mat for too long, really, for any of the leg lock conjecture to play out, good or bad, for any of the half guard get up conjecture to play out, good or bad. Volkanovski just didn't even let the transitions get that far. Did he get stymied and stalemated at points? Yes. But again, that's huge. The fact that he didn't even really let him get deep into the swimming pool, so to speak.
Yeah. Sorry, I kind of lost my thought too.
No. Anything on the main of, or we can go back to it, but anything on the main or co-main event before I push on to Rude Boy Brown and Della Maddalena?
Oh no, that's all I can offer. I'm still kind of in the shock of the moment of how incredible that main event was. That was a great fight.
It was a great fight,
and not that great fight in the sense that we saw like a bunch of bloody action. We saw mixed martial arts at the highest level in all ranges of combat. Like, that is the best that MMA can offer. Like, we saw elite level striking, we saw elite level clinch work, we saw elite level ground work, we saw scrambles, we saw everything. That was a sampler platter of MMA.
It was. Yeah, that's definitely one of those fights, maybe not crazy like submission scrambles. That might have been the only thing missing if you're nitpicking, of course. But really, you're right. It really was a great kind of platter of kind of everything there for the main event. Just high-level MMA all around. And again, my respect for Makhachev is increased. Not that I disrespected him. I just say easy on the hype and don't disrespect Volkanovski. So hopefully you're in that. Jack Della Maddalena, hopefully hearing some more respect too. But at the same time, as a guy who loves him and picked him to get it done early, I kind of would like to see Jack in some longer fights. He gets it done against Randy Rude Boy Brown. I know you were jumping streams on this one, Ant. But and you gave me your thoughts kind of already. You said you weren't surprised, so I'm taking it that you kind of picked Della Maddalena on the way in, or expected him to win.
Yeah, I did expect him to win. I think also too, just partly because of the matchmaking, that he was put this prominently on the main card of a pay-per-view in his home country. They tend to stack that deck in the favor of the home fighter. Like, that's normally how that goes. And Randy Brown is someone who you can slot in those positions, and either way you're going to get an exciting fight. Randy Brown just is allergic to being in a boring fight. So
yes,
something entertaining was going to happen. In all likelihood, though, as we saw against guys like Bilal Muhammad, hard ceiling on where we can expect Brown to go. And this was that testing moment for Jack.
Yeah, James, good enough. I don't think that's fair. I think Randy Brown anyone's good enough on any day. But aside from that, Randy Brown is super talented. Like I said on the breakdown, this was just a really tough styles fight. A trickily tough, if I'm making up words here, because Della's a boxer and Randy Brown comes from boxing. So you're like, he should be comfortable in this kind of a matchup. Like, no. Randy Brown, again, he fights with his back thing, but the counters, the jab counters, and again, the cage positioning, which is what did him in here, because he was actually doing good. Another reason why I do think Randy Brown is good enough. He was doing good in the fight until he wasn't. Again, Jack wasn't using leg kicks or even his patent body work as much as I thought he should until he was able to corral him toward the end for a really, abrupt finish. But Randy Brown had some really good looks early on in that fight. And like I said, he's also training with the crew down there, Daniel Gracie crew in Philly. And if you look outside of this loss, most of Randy and the Luque loss, most of Randy Brown's losses are to grindy wrestler types. And that's what most people are going to want to do to a guy who towers over everybody in the division. So the fact that he's working with grindy jiu-jitsu guys, like, this is great for Randy Brown's ceiling. And that was kind of the part that had me feeling bad for him, is that this seems like a matchup he should do well in, and I hope it doesn't affect his confidence too much, because I think Randy Brown is making the right moves. This was just a tough matchup.
Yeah, the tough spot to go in Australia and take on someone like Jack.
Yes, absolutely. The Jack Slack Timestamp Playlist Project says, we love Jack Della. He is body punching at the highest level. Yes. Big fan of Jack Della as well. What was another fight over? Oh, you had Parker Porter versus Justin Tafa. I was setting up and I just linked up with Ant on Skype, folks, when this fight happened, and I didn't even see the shot. Apparently, it wasn't a check right hook, so I guess my analysis wasn't that right. But I said either Justin Tafa cleans him with a counter early. I said it was probably specifically going to be a check right hook. It ended up being a left. But if he didn't, that Parker Porter was going to try to show off his Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu black belt. He did not, which means the Porter sub sprinkle wasn't much, but it was a part of the round robin, which was Porter sub, Yair KO, which didn't happen. Della round 2. Again, I've went Della round 2 like every fight, and I keep coming up short. I'm destined to hit it. The guy had, not anymore, had close to half of his finishes in round 2. I thought he was going to have trouble with the reach, which he was. He actually was having trouble with that reach early, back to the Randy Brown defense, and why I thought it was going to be round 2. He was going to need about a round to find his range. Of course, Jack maybe needed only a half a round before he abruptly found the finish. Obviously, the Yair KO, that wasn't crazy. We saw even me calling it to the round. Just some guys are lucky, some guys ain't. You know what I'm saying? Like, another one I had, Malarkey under 2.5, the Malarkey Prado. Like, how did that fight not go under? Even people who don't bet and are like were like, and are for safe fighting, were like, Malarkey should probably step it up here a bit. I think he could get this guy out of here. And lastly but not leastly for me, which is the main event, I was going to avoid totally because it was as volatile as I predicted. Of course, when other people, shout out to my guy Aaron Bronstetter, who was in my DMs, reminded me that he cashed, fight will start round 2. He was able to put his hand in the cookie jar safely. Of course, your boy here, it's not like I'm not due for a good turnaround or nothing. Nope. Couldn't be. Thankfully, it was only .117U, literally 17 ducats was all it was. But I'll tell you, if that would have hit round 3 Crute by sub at plus 1,800 for $17, it would have paid off the entire bankroll for this evening. So that was close. That was just So again, it's just so close. So that is the story of my life when it comes to these, Ant. So apologies, I'm tying you into my.
No, you're fine, man.
My crying into my beer portion of the recap, but
Hey, man, I learned my lesson with betting on fights long ago. I bet $10 that Shane Carwin was going to beat Brock Lesnar, and I want my $10 back. So. I should have learned was done
that.
At that moment.
Hey, I should have learned that. My first bet was I sprinkled on Forrest Griffin to get the upset on Anderson Silva. How's that for a first MMA bet, huh?
Ooh.
Watching that go down in flames. You're just watching Anderson Silva dance with the dollar bills. Jabbing him in the face.
He's just jabbing away the rent money.
It was great. No, I think it was only like $50. It was like my first play or whatever. Just for fun, money I didn't want to see again. But gamble responsibly out there, folks.
Definitely didn't see that again. Yeah.
Yeah, gamble out there responsibly, folks. At least again, I didn't put out a lot. I'm transparent, and always preach responsibility. In fact, that wasn't just me getting on my high horse this weekend talking about like the UFC and DraftKings, like how they'll give like ridiculously irresponsible promoted bets. I think we talked about that the last time we were on here for that Magni or whatever for the last pay-per-view, Ant. Then they had a lady on there just giving bets that she didn't even know the definitions to on the broadcast.
Yeah.
While UFC is amidst a betting scandal. Nothing wrong there, folks.
Oh, no, absolutely.
Nothing irresponsible there. Nope. And it's just annoying. I'm like, why does my ass bother? Like, I actually, like, when I'm peek behind the curtain, folks, when I negotiate for these for betting places, like, I make it a point that I am not held to I have to make a bet or I have to use language to force people. Most people don't even give two shits about these things. Like, I actually go through in my contract with these things. Like, that's how much I care. So to see people get way better opportunities than I'll ever get and see them just saying, like, you should cut yourself and see what happens. Like, it's really annoying when they're, like, giving, like, that advice. So hopefully you guys didn't cut yourself. You guys made out better than me. Any last-minute thoughts in the chat, hit them before we get out of here. But this was a card that started rough. I'm talking about nothing from picks and plays here. I'm talking about from the judges and maybe even some of the pacing, right? The pacing was a bit rough. But, man, did it end on a good note for some silver lining here.
Yeah, for sure. Like, it's hard to walk away upset, when that's the last fight we saw.
Yeah.
It's very difficult to walk away. And when you had a co-main event that delivered on the excitement, very difficult to just walk away unsatisfied. That main event was phenomenal. Alexander Volkanovski did everything he wanted to do in there except get the W. Islam Makhachev as well, excellent fight. They both put on a hell of a performance, and I'm very much looking forward to what both of them do separately. I certainly hope that this doesn't warrant an immediate rematch. I want them to fight in their own divisions, and perhaps this can be built up again if it comes back around.
Yep, absolutely. Fleeting question from the chat before we get out of here. Miles Hackett, what did you think of Islam's striking improvements? I thought it would have been a big advantage for Volk, and it wasn't at all. LOL. Don't feel bad because Volk was classy enough to admit that he had the same thoughts as you, Miles. It impressed me, but at the same time, and I'm not saying this to defend myself or anything, put myself up, I honestly didn't underrate it. And as a southpaw myself, I understand that there is an inherent counter advantage from that stance, even when you're facing a quote-unquote better striker. So it doesn't surprise me as much, but it impressed the hell out of me, as it should you. And it don't feel bad if it surprised you. It surprised Volk even, right? So yeah, it looks from destroying the planet. Sorry, James Kendrick. Last question here. Says, so Loma trained with Whaley for a better part of 4 months. You guys aren't going to let me get out of here without a Whaley question. Whaley for the better part of 4 months last year, where they shared coaches, drilled together, and technical sparred. So why was Reed able to reverse position when Loma gets better looks from the best strawweight? So why was Reed able? I didn't watch that fight that close. I just saw that Loma got the submission. So I can't see what the criticism was or speak on that. But for the positives, I guess you could maybe attribute the positives to training with Whaley. I know someone else from the chat mentioned that for a potential improvement to Loma's grappling, and she got a RNC win. Always happy for Loma Lukpumi. But yeah, it's and back to a previous note as we tie up and get out of here. I'm about the last fight being so amazing. Like, I'm honestly glad I didn't bet on it. Like, I said the only bet that I was looking to make on that fight and the rest of the card was it for that to go the distance. And if I would have came out probably as a winning night. But here's why I'm still glad that I did not bet that fight, because some cards are like, UFC 189 is an amazing card for a lot of people, right? Whether you're a Conor fan or not, right? That's a legendary card, right? It was a crazy card. Like, objectively, it had a crazy build and all these things. Now, I happened to bet on that card. I happened to bet on not just Conor, but, like, more importantly, I think Robbie Lawler was a bigger bet for me on that card. That was a crazy fight, right? And I ended up winning that bet, the Conor bet, ending on a good night, winning overall, enjoying the card. But I always have this feeling like, man, what if I had a horrible betting night? Would that have, like, ruined it for me? Would I have allowed that to ruin what is an amazing card, which happens all the time, whether we want to admit it or not, folks, if you do the betting thing, whether it's for small money or bigger money. That's a danger you play with that. And I was able to escape luckily there, right? But how many times have there been cards that kind of taint your experience? So regardless of how I did, I was really happy once we were calling that last fight of the night, Ant, because I'm like, the bets and all that pressure from because it's part of my job. I kind of have to do it, right? And unlike people who put irresponsible bets out there and then don't play them, I actually put responsible bets, show my work for them, and put my money where my mouth is, and don't just tell other people to go lose money. Neither here nor there. The point is, it was nice to have that part of my work over, and like just to be able to enjoy these fighters for who they are and what they brought to the table, and then for them to deliver that. I'm so grateful, Ant. I'm so grateful, and I'm glad I didn't taint that experience for myself.
Yeah, I'm so glad that you said that, because I'm not a bettor. I don't gamble on any fights. I barely even understand what some of the odds mean and stuff. I just kind of, but I do think I consistently make fight picks. I consistently try to analyze the action and rewatch certain fights and look for technical things to pick up on and whatnot. So I will say, since becoming involved in MMA media, there's certainly a big part of you that the fandom dies in a way. So yeah, I've been cage side for some huge fights and didn't walk. I enjoyed what was going on. I enjoyed, my job. I enjoy being around the fight atmosphere and whatnot. But there's a certain level of fun that you just don't have when it's work.
Yes, that's true.
No matter how much you love the work, some of that fun just has to walk out the door as a result of you being a professional, and you're trying to maintain a certain decorum and whatnot. But it's so nice to just turn that off and just watch a fight and just enjoy it, and that's what that main event provided. There was a chance for, and like I said before, not just enjoy it in the sense that we saw people hitting each other and there's blood splatter and just this sloppy excitement. No, it was it was a refined taste. It was like fine dining for fighting. You're watching the absolute best of the best of the best, and they're performing in every range of combat like the best of the best would. So how do you not enjoy that? For you to not have money tied up on that, and you can just take that part of it off of your brain and just appreciate the action, and we can just talk about it. Like that's fun, and that's why I love this stuff.
Yeah, like I hate to say this because there's so much to improve and continue to improve, but I actually felt like I had some decent moments of calling it, if I dare say, as far as like exclaiming.
Absolutely, yes.
I got caught up on my words more than I didn't, by the way, but there were points where I didn't. I thought I sounded good, but I had to remind myself to call it because I was just so into it, to your point.
Yeah, there definitely were times where I was just quiet. I'm just like, right. Oh my God, what's going to happen next? And that's right. This mic is live. There are people that are watching and listening right now. I better say something to somebody. So.
Yep.
Yeah, but that's a good problem to have. That's first world problems.
Absolutely.
To say I was enjoying this fight too much to talk. That means the fight's great.
Absolutely. Last comment before we get out of here from Ghost Phantom. Regardless of who you think won, we can all agree that it was an amazing fight by both Islam and Volk. Simpler, that's all you got to say. Mm-hmm. Absolutely. Thank you guys for all being here. This was awesome to do again with y'all. We went 2 hours and 20 minutes for roughly 3 fights and some recap. That was kind of the perfect amount. And even for these big pay-per-view cards, the way the UFC books, it's slowly kind of turning into boxing to where... it's kind of top heavy anyway, so I felt like this little balance for right now has been working out nicely. What do you think, Ant?
I agree. It's a nice amount that we can talk about some of the bigger stuff on the card, and if something of interest comes up as the prelim card is going, we'll address it when it's time. But we're here for the titles. We're here for the big stuff.
Absolutely.
Pause.
So hopefully, yes, yeah, pause, yeah. Don't clip that. Bohachinia Depot. Don't do my man dirty. And anybody viewing that as a hiring, Ant already slipped and told you why he's a real one, because the fact that he said that he's not having fun at these events shows you that he's actual real media. Because a lot of people, and I'm not trying to throw shade or anything, I'm not going to mention names or anything. Some mind where if I get a credential, I have to work, and not everybody thinks like that. And I'm not going to be one of those people who shows up and abuses and makes my outlet look bad, makes myself look bad. There are people that'll go be drinking beers instead of doing their job, getting credentialed. Like, I've heard horror stories, believe me, folks.
Oh yeah, I've seen them. Yeah, we've seen them.
Yeah, so we've
seen them all.
So, but to keep it positive, I will just say Ant is a real one. He clearly knows his stuff, and just the fact, there's the litmus test right there. Like, anybody who actually does the work at these shows and doesn't get caught up being a fan, like that's a real media member. That's a real person doing their job. So much respect to you, Ant, and the rest of y'all who hold it down for real.
Oh yes, you too, Dan. This was once again a great time. I love talking about fights, man.
Yep, absolutely. Thank you guys. Be sure to like the video if you haven't already. Subscribe if you're listening in the future on Apple Podcast. Please give that a 5-star rating and review. I'll probably do a formal recap just for the next breakdown show, since it's like Santos and now, or not Santos, it's Andrade now and Blanchfield. And I still got to work next week, so I got to turn over to the washing machine and try to get ahead of it. I think I'll be doing a recap, though, with not Heavy Hands, but the Fight Site boys, baby, on the Fight Site podcast. I'm not sure who it's going to be, if Silas or Tuman or who, but doesn't matter. They're full of amazing analysts, amazing talent on that podcast feed. So make sure you check them out, thefight-site.com. mixedmartialanalyst.com. The website's back up, running. Host this here site at Dan Tom MMA, as you can see me below, at Ant Walker MMA on Twitter is where you can find him. And anything you want to plug or say before we get out of here, stage is yours.
Of course. So you can find my work on MMA On Point. I've got videos posted regularly. I'm turning in scripts all the time, so they got stuff that they're working on that I have my name attached before long. We also have the Living Death Show, my weekly podcast with Jay Petrie and my man Ben Duffy on my podcast channel, The Walkout Network. You can check it out. Dan was a fantastic guest a couple weeks back, so he'll be back on soon. Yeah, we had a great time on that. So make sure you check that out. That'll post on Tuesday. And let's see, other than that, Yeah, that's about it. Just follow the Twitter, man. You know, Clapback Cartel. You say something to me crazy, I'll say something crazy right back. We're gonna do it. We're gonna have a great time. So hip hop conversation, fights, all that good stuff. Hit me up on Twitter. We'll talk.
I love it. I love it. Thank you for being here again. And that's it on the plugs for me. I don't deserve to plug anything else, especially with the results I've been turning in. I'm just happy y'all are here. I really do appreciate it, honestly. So thank you guys. Have a good night. And always protect your neck.